It's a gene injection ceremony for high school students. Each one will be injected with a special serum with the primary genes of all recorded magical beasts. After the injection, they will absorb a random gene and awaken as a beast. The teacher warns them not to panic after the injection and to calmly accept the torrent of power. All the students feel overwhelmed by their new strength and can barely contain it. But when Gigi gets injected with the serum, absolutely nothing happens. He even gets a defective injection. One of the girls instantly laughs at our protagonist, but as soon as she gets closer to mock him, a strange sensation washes over him. Instead of a single gene, he receives an infinite monster template that allows him to acquire all the skills and traits of the beasts. His body is suddenly filled with a surge of energy and incredible strength, and his bully classmate is thrown several feet back, and all the other students are unable to stay on their feet. They are shocked by such power, as they all thought he was the ultimate loser, and now they are all at his feet. Just then, a voice is heard over the loudspeaker. All awakened students must report to the testing building immediately. It's time to analyze their magical beast genes and their martial arts levels. The machines inside will reveal the true extent of each student's power. One by one, the students step up to see their results. Shiny Yuan awakens a third-level lineage. The swift thorn insect grants him speed and strength, propelling him to the top of the class. Shu steps up next and awakens the rare ice demon dragon, a first-level lineage. The teachers instantly recognize him as the class favorite and a future champion. Then, Miss Lu is called. She awakens a Stage 4 abyssal sparrow lineage, powerful enough to destroy an entire city. Only grandmasters can withstand something like that. Meanwhile, Ji reviews the details of his own awakening again. He wonders why his beast is labeled with a letter rank, while the others are classified as Stage 3 or Stage 4 types. Something doesn't quite add up. Finally, his name is called. As the student body anticipates something big from our boy, he enters the testing chamber. Inside the chamber, a strong pressure emanates from GJ. The other students feel it immediately and start whispering. They think he's about to break through to the next stage, but when the results load on the machine, confusion spreads. Most of GG's data is hidden, only the basics are visible. His beast lineage appears as unknown. His martial level is listed as only Stage 3, martial disciple level. Murmurs ripple through the room. Of course, the students start laughing, mocking him for such a weak result. Some call him useless, while others scoff at the unknown beast label, saying it proves he's an average failure. After all, it seems G has figured out what's going on. His system doesn't work like the others. The testing machine can't recognize the monster template, Infinite One he possesses, because it doesn't operate with stages or bloodline levels. He can improve his monster template infinitely by doing missions or accumulating reputation, and this is completely outside the standard classifications. That makes Yeeg smile, because his power isn't weak, it's just different, and once he meets the right conditions, he can obtain monster templates without limits. That means endless growth. If he plays his cards right, he can rise above everyone and become the king of monsters. A few days later, Yeeg requests to study from home. His teacher frowns, clearly skeptical. He assumes that Yeeg just wants an excuse to slack off, but Yeeg argues that he wants to get stronger and finally improve. He knows he's far behind the others, and that's why he needs extra time and highly focused training to catch up. The teacher warns him, even with awakened powers, he won't pass the entrance exam without a solid foundation. He suggests repeating the year and trying again next time. Instead of dooming himself to failure, Yeeg doesn't give up. With bright eyes, he begs for a chance. He swears his bloodline gives him what he needs to get ahead. All he asks for is the chance to prove it. Finally, the boy's sincerity dispels the doubt and the old man agrees to the request, but he warns Yeeg not to get his hopes up. Yeeg leaves the school and heads straight for the Anshan Warrior Center. As he walks, he reveals to us that he has over 1,000 in starting funds. After the accident, the insurance settlement and a mortgage on the family home provided him with the capital he needed. He now sees two very clear options: train like a warrior or find a way to improve his compatibility with the Mora template. That's when something catches his eye. The system shows that Demora has 3 compatibility points, 2 more than the standard template. This detail grabs his attention. He thinks about every possibility and comes to a single conclusion. The genetic serum he received before must have caused this. Somehow, it boosted his template and granted him 2 extra compatibility points. This changes absolutely everything. If serums can improve his template's compatibility, then focusing on acquiring serums could be much more effective than warrior training. This path is faster, cleaner, and much more suitable for someone with an infinite monster template. Encouraged by this revelation, Yeej heads to the Genetic Enhancement Center. He scans his student ID card at the entrance and goes inside. As soon as he sets foot inside, something catches his attention. The room is packed with very strong individuals. Each one is surrounded by a dark and heavy aura, an echo of the beasts they merged with. These are awakened warriors, and Yiga can feel it. Every one of them has already unlocked their bloodline. Since awakening the Raging Flame Demora template, he has acquired a special ability called a vital magnetic field. It's one of Demora's powers that allows him to sense living beings and detect the flow of energy within them. Now Yi can clearly feel the heat and pressure emanating from every nearby awakened warrior. His blood boils, raging flame. Demora is the king of the beasts. So our boy also possesses this insatiable hunger to defeat everyone in sight and conquer the entire world. Although Jace knows he's still weak, the instinct is too deep to ignore. One day, he plans to stand above them all, and when that day comes, the whole world will witness the true power of the King of Beasts. Suddenly, someone taps him on the shoulder, taking him by surprise. An elegant woman is standing behind him and in a joking tone suggests he shouldn't stare at people so openly. Jace quickly apologizes. The woman brushes it off, saying it's normal for newly awakened people to lose control. Most can't help it at first. He asks if she can help him find the genetic medicine. She affirms, explaining that while the genetic medicine is effective, it's also very expensive. Worse yet, the body develops a resistance over time, making future doses less helpful. Her advice is very clear. Use it only after you've hit a plateau, when regular training can't take you any further. Jace asks how much it costs. She says that, at his current level, only beginner potions will work, and they each cost around $400,000. Well, that number hits him hard. Even with everything he has, he can't afford 5 doses. He tries to ask for a discount, but the woman just laughs before handing him a business card. As a veteran warrior, she tells him that he can get a referral discount by using her name. Jace waves goodbye and thanks her with a smile. She smiles back, wishing him the best of luck. From somewhere nearby, someone is watching in silence with their bright blue eyes fixed on Jace, ready for what's next. First, he goes to collect all the money he has left. Then he visits the warrior's weapon shop. All the weapons are extremely expensive, but it's not like he has any choice in the matter. After a long day of spending, he finally injects all the serum he bought. With the effects kicking in, his stats start to skyrocket. One after another, the values climb. The mutation pushes his body to the limit. Every muscle feels like it's on fire, but at last, he has leveled up. A thought that brings great joy to our boy. For the first time, he truly believes he has a chance to dominate the college entrance exam. Even with a cheat-like ability, it means nothing if he can't push it past the world's true geniuses. To climb higher in the ranks, he sets his sights on the secret realms. These otherworldly zones are ranked by danger, from E-class to the catastrophic S-class. S-class realms house beasts so powerful that if they ever escaped, the world wouldn't survive. Today, Jace arrives at Anshin number 3, an E-level secret realm reserved for newbies. He heads to the counter, books his entry, and signs the standard death liability waiver. Moments later, he stands before the realm's glowing portal and sets his ambition. He's going to become the king of beasts. With that, he charges toward the rift, diving headfirst into the pulsating energy. On the other side, Jace lands like a hero. The realm stretches out endlessly, scattered with the stars of Kangolin, Angwei, and Taijin. He's read about places like this before, but seeing it in person is something else entirely. It's breathtaking. As he marvels at the scenery, a red creature watches him from behind. It's a blade-fanged rabbit crouching in the grass. When it pounces on him, Yi doesn't even flinch and snatches it mid-air with one hand, slamming it into the ground. Well, our boy had sensed it coming long before it moved. That's the power of his vital magnetic field, a special sensory ability of Demora. By crushing it, he finishes off the beast. He checks the rabbit's magic core that he has acquired and estimates its value at about 1,000 win. For a few seconds of effort, it's already more than what some people earn in a week. Still, he knows this pace won't get him very far. Low-level cores won't be enough. It's time to hunt something stronger. A massive figure suddenly appears in Yi's path. It's a second-ranked demonic corpse insect, exactly the kind of opponent he came to face. Our boy wields his blade and is ready to fight. Drawing from memory, he recalls the details from the monster encyclopedia and aims for the beast's weak spot, its soft abdomen. The demonic corpse insect counters by firing a spiraling energy blast. JG gathers his strength, charging up a wave of martial energy. He unleashes a full-power hyper beam directly into the monster's path. Before the dust settles, another beast emerges from the shadows. This one unleashes spinning purple projectiles from its mouth. Yiga's eyes widen as he realizes its jaws are built for firing deadly ranged attacks. A projectile slams into his body, knocking him back. He grits his teeth in frustration over the damage and his ruined outfit. His martial skills are clearly not enough to keep up with this level of beast. He blames the weak foundation of the original body, both academically and martially, for holding him back in critical moments like this. With no other choice, he activates the Mad Flame Mora, Emperor Demon lineage. His body ignites with energy as his strength jumps from 15 to 21. Power courses through his limbs as the demon insect roars in rage, preparing to charge again. The monster lunges forward with its jaws wide open. Yige crouches down, his claws glowing with energy as he launches himself at his enemy. He strikes with bestial force and finishes off the demonic corpse insect in a single clean move. Still radiating heat, JG inspects the damage. The venom has already begun to corrode his weapon. He mutters under his breath that the sword is a ripoff, annoyed by its poor durability. Suddenly, his stomach growls with hunger, and conveniently, he smells something very appetizing in the air. Yige turns towards it. His eyes land on a green-grade magic core emitting a surprisingly rich aroma. It's the core from the monster he just killed. Despite the obvious risks, he proceeds to consume the stone. As soon as he swallows it, the energy is already inside his body, spreading through his limbs. The system displays an update. His compatibility with the Mad Flame Mora template has slightly increased. You see, even cheap magic cores can improve compatibility more efficiently than expensive potions. The stone gave him results similar to what he would have gotten from consuming 4 serums that would have ruined him. He can't believe how much money he wasted on pay to win genetic potions. That's when JG makes a decision. He's going to hunt all night to make up for the losses, activating his vital magnetic field. He sends out a pulse to scan the surroundings and locks onto nearby targets. By the next afternoon, his compatibility reaches 9%. His physical stats also rose to 15.8. Since the white-grade cores no longer improve him, he decides to stop consuming them and sell the rest. When he places all the stones on the counter, the receptionist is completely blown away. For a high school student to turn in so many cores is simply insane. Following protocol, JG earns 200,000 credits from the sale. There are 9 days left until the college entrance exam in Nanxing. Number 4. A D-class secret realm opens to the public. A small team prepares to enter. Their target is the Blood Jade Flower, tied to a very high-paying bounty mission, but they're one person short. Old Chin's recent injury left them without a full team. One of the guys, Linky, assures the group that he's already contacted an agency and that a replacement martial artist is already there, and that martial artist is JG. Now in disguise, he confirms his fake identity, Datsla, a level 9 martial disciple. It turns out he had paid 100,000 credits to an illegal agency for forged credentials so he could join the mission. Naturally, the others react to his name with confusion. JG casually admits that it's a copyright-safe version. The woman then sizes him up and warns him that he better not slow down the team. His level is low and she doesn't need any additional risks. Still, she allows him to come along as long as he observes the mission quietly. Our boy is ready to do whatever they ask. Finally, the group crosses into the secret realm by vehicle, driving through the glowing portal with the Blood Jade Flower as their main objective. They head toward an oasis where the Blood Jade Flower is located. Moreover, a powerful level 2 monster with an elite bloodline is guarding that flower. Meanwhile, JG surveys the terrain. Unlike the lush rainforest he explored last time, this realm is nothing but a vast, open desert. Without warning, a swarm of earth demon rats bursts from the sand and gives chase. The captain reacts instantly, shouting for Hood to handle it. Without a word, Hood readies his blades. As the rats close in, Hood unleashes a set of massive bladed weapons, slicing through the attackers with ruthless precision. One after another, the rats are torn apart mid-chase, exploding into dust as the vehicle speeds through the desert. Once finished, Hood calmly confirms that the threat is handled. JG watches from his seat, silently noting how efficient and brutal Hood's fighting style is. In the distance, the desert stretches wide beneath a sky of glowing planets. A green oasis sits in the center, likely marking the location of the Blood Jade Flower. The team proceeds on foot, a burning sky. Each wonders why they aren't using the vehicle to cover more ground. Lin explains the reason, with complete clarity. If they get any closer, the engine noise will attract nearby monsters. From here on out, they'll travel in silence. Roles are also assigned as they move forward. Xiao will use a stun grenade, while Wu and Hood will handle setting traps. Old Lu is in charge of cover fire, while Lin leads the frontal assault. As for Yige, he's told to stay back and observe. Our boy accepts silently, keeping things very simple. They finally put their plan into motion. The stun grenade is detonated, releasing a cloud of pheromones that attracts the monsters. A roar answers the signal, coming from a powerful level 2 earth dragon charging out of the smoke. Lin unleashes a sword slash that crashes against the dragon's body. The beast collapses after losing its head, while the team cheers for Lin's victory. With that settled, he decides to move forward without delay, but suddenly, the earth dragon's claw falls from above. Before a catastrophe can occur, our boy springs into action. He strikes fast, landing a powerful energy punch directly into the beast's body. The impact shakes the ground with explosive force. The others are simply astonished, thinking that a martial arts rookie just took down a level 2 monster with a single blow. Everyone celebrates this victory and praises the champion, while our boy brushes it off as if it were nothing. Lin holds up the dragon's core, confirming the victory. The team gathers to discuss the red soul essence harvested from the beast. Its power and value leave them in awe. The captain is grateful that they defeated the Earth Dragon and secured its blood. Before anyone can respond, a sharp blade pierces through the captain's back. It's Hood who has betrayed them. The team freezes in disbelief as Lin turns with pain in his eyes and draws his sword, demanding to know why Hood betrayed them. That's when a massive figure steps forward. He's bald, wearing a belt of skulls and a thick fur collar. It doesn't take long for Yi and his companions to realize it's Wopon. He's the dungeon thief who steals from martial artists their hard-earned loot. Suddenly, Lin starts to stagger because the blade he was stabbed with is laced with poison. He growls through gritted teeth, asking how the bald guy even knew the location of the secret dungeon. That's when Yi realizes the truth. There was hidden information embedded on the blades Hood used earlier to dispatch those hounds, planted with full intent. Seeing how sharp our boy is, Hood smirks and taunts him, telling him to stop courting death and go back to school. But our boy is unfazed and replies that he plans to get first place in the upcoming exam. The bastard then throws those same poison daggers, but our boy catches them with his bare hands and burns them away with his blue aura. Seeing this, Wapong's interest in our boy has grown. Hood, on the other hand, decides to go all out and unleashes a barrage of daggers at his enemy. Yi counters with a blast of fiery energy, completely unleashing his strength. Hood then vanishes from his spot and appears right behind our boy, attempting to strike with a devastating technique, the Mountain Splitter. Jig responds with crackling electricity and fires a piercing beam of energy that blasts straight through Hood's heart. Seeing the bastard taken down with a single blow, Captain Lin and the others are stunned. The supposed rookie just took down Hood in a single hit. As our boy is cultivating aura with his enemy falling from the sky, Jupon is trembling with fear. He demands to know what kind of powerful family Yi comes from. There's no mistaking it. He recognizes the genetic technique. Yiga coolly replies that he's from the Mora clan and adds a biting remark about the growing desperation of Jupon. The enemy responds with a roar of dominance and abandons his human form, having activated his bloodline transformation, unleashing the terror of the Tyrant Terror Black Bear. His muscles swell and his body mutates into a towering beast. Using the Peak Shaker martial technique, he charges forward. Ji strikes first, aiming low. His attack lands hard against the beast's legs, but Jupon counters with a swinging punch. His massive paw smashes into the earth, sending debris flying in all directions. Instead of continuing to play around with this bastard, our boy decides to end this. He channels everything into a single blow, the core-fused mountain-crushing fist. The technique helps him unleash a barrage of devastating blows, pummeling his enemy to the point where the bastard is no longer fit to fight. His comrades watch from afar, struggling to process and comprehend what they just witnessed. The supposed martial rookie just took down a true colossus of strength. The injured bastard's voice lets out one last, bitter curse, calling Yiga's genetic technique despicable and swearing that sooner or later he will receive his just punishment. Yiga doesn't respond with verbal attacks, because his flaming blue fist is more than enough to completely silence this guy. The scene then shifts to the central stadium of Ant City, where a massive martial arts tournament kicks off with great anticipation. Cheers erupt from every corner as banners wave and lights flash endlessly. This year's entrance exam follows a direct elimination format. The students are paired up and only those who win 3 consecutive matches in the audition rounds will manage to qualify for the grand finals. At the top of that bracket awaits the coveted title of the highest scorer. From the broadcast booth, the announcer hypes up the crowd, reminding everyone that these students represent the very future of humanity's survival. Every blow they throw carries with it much more than just personal ambition. The upper-level entrance exams begin in full force as combat erupts all over the stadium. In Arena 1, battle energy clashes with precision strikes as students fight with everything they've got. In Arena 4, another fierce duel is already underway, with no signs of slowing down whatsoever. The attention then shifts to Arena 6. There, only one participant remains on the platform. Her name is Zhuang, and she's waiting for her opponent. The commentator updates the audience, explaining that although Zhuang has arrived, her opponent Ji Ge from Ancheng High School is still a no-show. With no sign of him, the match might end in a forfeit. Train hard for this moment, hoping to claim her revenge with the help of her fierce fire lizard. But once again, the one person she wanted to face didn't even deign to show up. Meanwhile, students and spectators mock GJ, calling him a coward for not showing up. The referee raises his hand and prepares to confirm the forfeit. Then, everyone notices the sky is changing. A brilliant beam of blue light pierces through the clouds. It's our boy descending from the sky like a damn meteor, crashing into the ground of the arena with thunderous force. The ground trembles as dust and debris scatter throughout the impact zone. Zhuang shudders, knocked off balance by the powerful explosion. She is unable to comprehend what is happening in that instant. From within the smoke, Gigi launches straight into action, slamming his foot into Zhuang's face with overwhelming force. That single kick lifts her into the air and sends her flying across the entire platform. After knocking out his opponent, our boy is exuding a superior aura, acting with total indifference. Zhuang lies defeated on the ground as the announcer declares GG, the resounding winner. The crowd erupts with excitement, cheering for his immense strength and praising the legendary celestial kick that ended the match. Moreover, our boy's power comes from the blood jade fruit he got from the captain for having saved their lives back then. As expected, the tournament bracket is updated, showing GG advancing to the next round, now scheduled to face Long Tao. But once again, our boy defeats Long Tao from Anchink, number 4, high school with a powerful blast of blue energy. In the next round, GG knocks out another opponent from a different high school, thus securing another decisive victory. The crowd celebrates his consecutive wins, shouting that he's become a one-kick Superman thanks to his unstoppable and amazing performance. With 3 victories under his belt, Jige passes the audition phase and advances directly to the 3rd round of the tournament. University scouts immediately gather around him. Each one tries to recruit him by offering praise and promising full scholarships. Surrounded by officials and representatives, Gigi calmly repeats the question they ask him over and over again, and then gives his answer. He declares that he plans to enter Wadu University. Some nearby voices question his decision, warning him not to be overconfident. Wadu is one of the top martial arts universities, and getting in is no easy task, but our boy is clearly determined to prove them wrong and claim the top spot with his own strength alone. Shortly after, officials approach him. They ask how his cultivation stage jumped from the 3rd to the 9th rank in only half a month. Our boy tells them this story of amazing results was motivated by a secret realm, his father's final message. The shocking revelation leaves the crowd completely stunned. The news spreads quickly that Yi has already broken his genetic lock. The officials leave immediately to report the news. Yiga doesn't like all the attention he's getting. While other students prepare for their matches with family cheering them on, Yiga remains completely alone. He reflects silently, realizing there's no one waiting to support him, no parents, no friends in the crowd. The feeling settles in. He is truly alone, but it seems he's mistaken. His teacher sees the match on the broadcast and offers a small, discreet clap in Yiga's direction. Yiga enters the arena with full confidence for his next promotion match. His opponent is Luo, a strong fighter with an elite lineage and a powerful bloodline. The bastard taunts Yiga the moment they face off, but our boy remains completely composed. He knows the outcome will be decided by strength, not empty words. As the match begins, Luo activates his bloodline awakening and unleashes a martial technique, the Swift Lightning Claw. The attacker lunges forward with speed and raw power, trying to grab our boy's face with his gruesome claw. Yu stands still and only bothers to raise his hand to stop his enemy. He scoffs at the weak force behind this attack and begins to twist his arm, making Luo scream in pain as his hand is effortlessly crushed. Yi lifts him into the air and slams the bastard back down to the ground with brutality. The blow is so powerful it literally demolishes the arena floor and, once again, the announcer declares Yi the winner. Even the host is completely shocked. Luo was one of the top favorites in the tournament and failed to land a single blow. Online, fans explode with excitement. They praise Yi's calm presence and unbeatable strength, calling him a true master. In the stands, the crowd cheers for the one-kick man and names him a surefire, undisputed finalist. As Luo is carried away on a stretcher, a new rival watches him intently from across the arena, observing Yi with admiration and quietly declaring that he intends to face him in the grand finals. At Wadu University, the admissions office takes note and quickly orders a full investigation into Yi's background. Meanwhile, the matches continue in the neighboring arenas as the second group of candidates advances to the next round. Xiao Ling, known as the Queen of Hanking's second high school, enters the arena with all eyes on her. Opposite her stands Liu Qingzhu, the quiet and elegant figure known as the Unattainable Flower. Their rivalry is well known, and the crowd leans in with anticipation as the match prepares to begin. The referee blows the whistle, giving the signal. Xiao Ling charges forward immediately, throwing out a taunt as she closes the distance. Liu Qingzhu doesn't respond, instead activating a powerful and secret martial art. A massive wave of energy unleashes from her palm, shooting directly at her opponent. The impact lifts Xiao Ling off her feet and sends her flying through the air, but she quickly recovers and counters with her own skill, known as the Howling Gale Step. Lu lowers her stance and moves subtly with great agility. She creates a spinning energy field, trapping her opponent's hand in the air current trap. To finish off Xiao Ling, she launches a strike from her powerful primordial chaos finger technique. Seeing this, the announcer reacts with astonishment, announcing that Liu Qing has mastered a high-level martial skill, something very few students manage to achieve. Xiao Ling immediately responds by activating her awakening transformation. The Shadow Claw Tiger King emerges from her bloodline. With its help, she manages to put distance between herself and her opponent. Now that she has revealed hers, she demands to see Liu Qing's true bloodline as well, the Abyssal Phoenix. But Liu Qing is unfazed, claiming she can easily defeat her without resorting to her abyssal phoenix potential. Of course, the Tiger Girl feels mocked. Her fury rises as she unleashes her full power. Liu Qing responds in the same way, activating the Liu family's secret art. The clash begins. Xiaoling attacks with the paralyzing kick of the fierce tiger, channeling all her strength into a single, devastating blow. Liu Qing counters with a brilliant surge of energy from her primordial chaos jade finger. The two techniques collide with each other. Energy crackles in the air as their powers clash with a great roar. No one in the stands can tell who has the upper hand at this moment. As the chaos begins to settle, Xiaoling stands alone in the dust, seemingly victorious, but something feels wrong. A sudden wave of pressure hits her before she can react. Her legs give out from exhaustion. At the same time, Liu Qing remains standing. The referee steps in and announces the results, and Liu Qing is declared the winner. The online spectators erupt in disbelief as the news spreads. Liu Qing has awakened a rare 4th-level abyssal phoenix bloodline. With the battles winding down, the tournament prepares for the top 8 drawing ceremony. Jige steps forward to draw his position and gets the ace slot for the next round. His opponent is revealed moments later, Shen, from the Qinfeng Private High School, who also enters Group A. Since they will fight in the second round, Shen suggests they stay and watch the first fight in the arena. Liu was on the ground, seemingly overwhelmed by his enemy. His energy control is sharp, precise, and built for high-level combat. Jige watches closely, realizing that the mysterious victor is actually his schoolmate, Chu Zhou. The principal of Qingfeng fumes as the school's representative falls in the first match of the top 8. Jige turns to Shen and asks how he compares to Luo. Shen responds confidently, saying he is the president of the martial arts club and that not even 2 of his peers together could beat him. He admits that our boy is the only real threat in this year's entrance exam for him. He describes him as a dormant volcano, hiding a terrifying beast beneath its surface. With no time to talk, Shen points out that it is their turn to enter the second match of the advancement tournament. The top 8 begins. Jige steps onto the battlefield across from Shen. The announcer declares the start of the round. Immediately, the two clash, their powers surging with equal force. The spectators fall silent, watching the explosive exchange of blows. Our boy isn't holding back. He's managed to make this bastard's nose bleed. Bastard. Shen then decides to get serious too and surrounds himself with a solid shield of martial energy. Jige maintains his focus, acknowledging Shen's power and preparing for what's next. His opponent finally makes his move, activating his clan's dragon martial art and summoning a flaming beast. The creature roars forward as Shen launches a devastating attack. Our boy doesn't even have time to react and ends up getting knocked into the air by a powerful blow. He coughs up blood as the force shoves him backward with violence. The impact also shakes the entire arena with a loud crash. That bastard then grabs Jige again and begins his relentless assault on the poor guy. After this brutal assault on our boy, the bastard is thoroughly enjoying himself. The emergency medics start running toward the stage, preparing for the worst after Shen's relentless assault. But then, the air shifts and something stirs deep on the battlefield. A massive wave of blue energy erupts from Yi, shaking the arena to its foundations. Our boy has almost transformed into his monster template, covered in lightning and scales. His bloodline transformation is complete. The commentator is blown away because a full beast transformation in a high school student is almost unheard of. The transformed fighter moves forward with his heavy presence and overwhelming power. Meanwhile, a senior examiner watches the field closely and notices something else. YG's core energy is skyrocketing completely. A defensive barrier is instantly activated, shot up to contain the blast of radiation core emanating from his body. The spectators are having the time of their lives watching all this. Yi's bloodline awakening is unlike anything they've ever seen before. Our boy smirks in his awakened beast form, fully aware that no one on this planet understands what he has become. On the other side of the arena, Shen starts bleeding again. The pressure from Yiga's energy is too much and his body can no longer contain it. In response, he transforms too. His beast form bursts into view, glowing with golden energy that embraces the air around him. They both begin to charge their ultimate martial arts techniques. Our boy strikes first and obliterates his opponent's hand in the blast. It's clear who the winner is here, and our boy wants his opponent to realize it. Shen already begins to feel that Yi's strength has gone beyond control after his awakening. Our boy wastes no time and lunges again, unleashing a rapid barrage of blows, hammering Shen without pause. Both contestants continue to struggle, with Shen trying his best to get the upper hand, but at one point he learns the hard way that he doesn't have a chance against this beast of a man. Before Ji lands a final blow, Shen surrenders. Yi is completely disappointed that the match was over even before it began. Anyway, Yi is officially declared the winner. Online, the response is instantaneous. Fans joke that our boy didn't even go all out and his opponent gave up like a pathetic dog. Clips of the battle flood every platform and social media explodes with praise. Meanwhile, the principal explodes with rage over Shen's surrender. He threatens to cut off all support unless Shen pays what he owes. But Shen silences him with a single gesture. He grabs his shoulder and flatly explains that he surrendered to avoid permanent damage. He warns this fatso that strength isn't something you can control with threats. The principal remains silent for a moment and then nods quietly, clearly shaken by the intimidation. The 4 finalists of the tournament are finally announced and Yi's school dominates the board, securing 3 of the 4 available spots. Their principal can't hide his excitement, already imagining promoting Yi's master for raising such exceptional kids. Meanwhile, Yi steps up and draws his match assignment. Once again, it's Group A. Across from him, a powerful girl steps forward and draws the same. With that, the semifinal match is confirmed, Yi versus Luxing. Excitement erupts in the arena with fans chanting for what is expected to be the most intense battle yet. Luxing possessed divine phoenix powers. She had easily crushed a high-level bloodline user, which clearly explains that her power is overwhelming. The fans also revere Yi's Thunder Beast powers. At the semifinal venue, once both contenders step forward, the referee signals the start of the match. Our boy takes the initiative to start the show. Seeing his display of power, Luxing remains calm and composed. The only thing she hopes is that he is strong enough to push her limits. The commentator can't see anything due to the swirling dust, struggling to describe what's happening. Let's switch to our boy's internal monologue. He quickly realizes she's not just powerful. Her battle instincts and intelligence are far beyond most opponents he has faced. Understanding the risk of dragging out the fight, he acts first. His body ignites with flaming energy as he charges straight at her, launching an attack with all his might. Luxing surrounds herself with energy, preparing to counter as Yi closes in. At the last moment, he spins into a sweeping blow, trying to take her by surprise. She reacts instantly, blocking just in time, but the move caught her off guard. Our boy leaps back, channeling his energy into a direct punch aimed at Luxing. Clearly, our boy isn't giving her a single chance to counter or retreat, clearly overwhelming her. After this continuous back and forth, she decides to get serious. This time, she activates her bloodline awakening, the power of the Avisal. Her eyes glow with intensity as she warns Yi that she might not be able to control her strength in this state. Yi isn't bothered. That's exactly what he wanted to hear. He explains that he was only using half his power until now and is ready to fight for real. Luching lunges at him at full speed, unleashing a devastating blow. Yiji roars. Power surges through his limbs and he counters with explosive force. Their blows collide and the impact sends a shockwave across the entire arena. The audience covers their eyes as the blast expands outward. Meanwhile, the girl is in total disbelief as she notices this overwhelming power surrounding our boy. After bracing himself, Yijie unleashes a concentrated beam of energy from his mouth, cutting through the arena in an unstoppable straight line. Luching stands there to counter it. When the beam hits her, she redirects the blast using her enchanted feather. The energy scatters across the arena and some of it heads straight for the spectators, but a barrier absorbs the impact before it could hit the common people. It turns out it was the mayor of the Ant City, Huang Qing, who conjured that barrier. After seeing this explosive battle, he declares that the strongest guardian in the city's history, Dan, is being born today. On the battlefield, blood drips to the ground, and it certainly belongs to Luching, who remains standing, though her body is damaged. At this point, she is sure she can't beat him. Yiji's single attack broke through her strongest defense. The pressure she has carried since childhood comes rushing back. Memories of her struggle surface, the strict expectations and the weight of her family's legacy pressing down on her shoulders. Her ancestors had placed all their hopes in her. The voice of her cold mother also echoes in her memory, reminding her that victory wasn't optional, it was the only path she was given in life. Meanwhile, Yijie stands there, clearly undefeated. Luching can't stomach her defeat. With the last of her strength, she charges forward in a final burst, giving everything she has left, but the boy cleanly stops her, catching the attack in midair. He then charges his fist again and proceeds to slam her into the ground, pushing her past her limit. Finally, Luching reaches her threshold. The intensity of his blows tears through her remaining resistance. The latent energy within her suddenly surges as she unleashes her final transformation, her wings spreading majestically in the sky, glowing with the combined power of lightning and purple flames. Yijie watches calmly, unleashing his own powers in return. He activates his strongest body technique, merging martial strength and elemental energy into a single form. From that point, he leaps toward her with his technique at the ready. Their clash begins, and this time they both look like two majestic deities fighting each other. Literally, their exchange of blows is so fast I can't even keep up with what the hell is going on. From the sidelines, the announcer starts to panic, realizing that neither of the fighters can contain the energy they are wielding completely. As her attack heads toward our boy, he braces himself and uses a hidden genetic technique. A huge golden wall erupts from the arena floor, ready to defend our boy. As the opponent's energy strikes the wall struggles under the pressure and finally shatters into pieces. The spectators watch in shock, wondering what just happened. Some worry that if the mayor doesn't intervene, the entire arena could collapse. The man in question is also tense. His eyes follow the damage through the fractured barrier. The sheer force generated by the combined power of Yig and Leching had overwhelmed it instantly. Meanwhile, back in the arena, blood drips down Leching's hand as she struggles to get up. Every movement sends renewed pain through her limbs, but she remains kneeling, refusing to fall completely. Yig moves forward to face his fallen opponent. Leching raises her head and looks at him in disbelief, as her most powerful attack had barely left a mark. Yig gives her a final warning, pointing out the radiation now spreading through her body. Without immediate action, the damage will be permanent. Leching's body trembles and she screams. Her voice breaks as she demands to understand why the fight had to come to this. Yig calmly crouches in front of Leching and looks at her without hostility. In fact, he's impressed by her fighting spirit and her resolve not to give up. Internally, the girl also admits that the only thing on her mind while fighting was the desire to win. And above all, her desire to fight wasn't limited just to victory. In reality, she was thoroughly enjoying it. Our boy, meanwhile, helps her recover by giving her some of his mana. He reminds her that she was overthinking during the fight, which inevitably led to her downfall. So, on a good note, he wishes to fight her again in the future when she's at her best. With that, the battle ends and the announcer declares his victory in the first semifinal match. Shortly after, Chu secures his own victory with ease and advances to the final round. The final match of An Chen Hai begins. The arena fills with tension as Yig and Chu face off under the watchful eyes of the massive live stream audience. Chu unsheathes his gleaming sword, radiating an aggressive energy as he prepares to attack. Yig smirks in response, not worried in the slightest. Chu charges with his spinning slash, attacking our boy with 7-blade clones, while Yi gathers energy around him, preparing for a counterattack. When he strikes with his explosive fist against the opponent's sword, the blast of force sends shards and shockwaves in every direction. Of course, the impact of that blow was so strong that it forced Chu to comment on Yiga's brutal approach. Instead of looking for the real sword, Yiga attacks every clone in his path with sheer force. At this point, Chu is certain that none of his defensive strategies will work against this monster. Despite the setbacks, Chu decides to take another approach. Since close-quarters combat is not an option, he chooses to attack from a distance and wear his opponent down. Energy rapidly builds around him as he summons a giant and ferocious dragon, formed entirely of pure power. The dragon roars forward, charging at Yij with unstoppable momentum. Activating his bloodline ability, Chu unleashes the power of the ice pulse. Freezing energy floods the battlefield, spreading outward in a rapid wave. Jagged spikes of ice erupt across the terrain, creating an imposing mountain of ice that seals JG inside. Meanwhile, a light sweat forms on Chu's face, because the intensity of his power is taking a toll on his body. Moments later, the ice begins to melt. From deep within, a blast of golden and blue light erupts outward. A shockwave ripples across the stage as JG breaks free, shattering the mountain with overwhelming force. With the first attempt failed, Chu prepares to launch another ice-based technique, aiming a massive crystalline structure directly at our boy. Before it can even land a blow, our boy renders the attack completely useless. Still catching his breath, Chu asks what his chances are of winning this match. JG responds with a calm smile and dismisses the odds as barely better than a stray cat's. Like any sensible person, Chu raises his hand without saying another word and surrenders. The final result is announced. Yig is declared the winner of the final battle of Anqing High School. Cheers erupt throughout the stadium as Yig's supporters celebrate his victory. Standing tall in the center of the stage, he soaks in the energy of the crowd. His name echoes from every corner of the arena. City screens display his face, broadcasting the victory live as his popularity skyrockets. People begin to call him the strongest champion in the history of Anqing. The announcer steps forward and makes it official, declaring Yig the tournament champion. After 3 full days of intense battles, the title is. During the closing ceremony, a reporter approaches and asks him about his rise from the bottom. Yig responds, thanking his master for offering support during the toughest times. From the edge of the stage, the principal also calls out to him to show his appreciation. He announces a scholarship offer. Of course, Yig accepts immediately, expressing gratitude towards the school and the principal. Proudly, he also credits himself for the tireless work that made this victory possible. Shortly after, a new alert flashes on his system interface. Yig has unlocked a hidden system reward for claiming the tournament title. Later, he walks through the quiet stadium hallway, but the moment he steps out, a crowd erupts around him. Reporters, students, and camera crews rush in from all directions, overwhelming the hallway with lights and questions. Several female students pounce on him, showing suggestive pictures and asking strange, inappropriate questions. Caught off guard and unable to respond, Yigi bolts out the doors, shouting that he has no time for any of that. He slips into the basketball gym, finally shaking off the crowd. Breathing more easily, he's thrilled to learn he can also obtain other template abilities, meaning he isn't limited to using just one template. Before he can ponder it further, a man steps out from the shadows and congratulates him on winning the tournament. At first, Yig assumes he's another reporter, but the man quickly clarifies that he's not from the media. He introduces himself as someone connected to Wadu University, here to discuss a related matter, the genetic lock. Of course, our boy gets a little alarmed hearing this term. After all, he gained all his power through monster templates and had never used any system related to the genetic lock. The man then asks if this term was something Yi learned from his father, who was just an ordinary taxi driver. And Yigi confirms it, but the man pulls out confidential documents and says that the information doesn't match his father's background. There's more to this story, something hidden deeper, and he hands Yig an envelope, saying it's related to his unique case. Yiga opens it and freezes on the spot upon seeing the contents. Inside is a picture of a divine-looking being named Prometheus. The documents reveal a connection to a top-secret national biotechnology project, one that has never been revealed to the public. It seems Yig has finally figured out what this guy is all about. From what he's gathered, these guys believe his father was a scientist working on this Prometheus project, and Yig himself is the result of that project. The man confirms this assumption by informing him that he has been identified as a high-level national subject. According to the report, he is now nationally recognized and will be protected under the full authority of the state. Furthermore, the state has no intention of causing him harm. Instead, Yig has the right to know the truth about himself and his classification. Of course, our boy plays along and responds accordingly. For him, fame always brings trouble, so he'd rather be left alone. Once the guy is gone, Yiga gets back to the task at hand. With his official acceptance into Wadu University confirmed, he celebrates the substantial scholarship and prize money he received. Most importantly, he's excited to get the template ability he's been awarded for passing the exam. Without waiting any longer, he activates the system's template lottery function. A brilliant, portal-like structure materializes before him, radiating a powerful light. As the energy gathers around the vortex, a massive, almost divine mechanical being emerges. The system identifies it as a D-rank, supergiant humanoid template. This thing stands 60 meters tall and has a fusion rate of 1%. The revelation leaves Yig stunned. He immediately starts calculating the potential. If the supergiant humanoid could fuse with the Mora template, the result would be devastating. An image forms through the system, an imagined fusion of both monstrous powers, towering and violent, radiating almost limitless energy. Elsewhere, a mysterious big shot cancels all his scheduled appointments. He simply states that private matters must be addressed. The guy this big shot is talking to is a researcher in a hazmat suit who reports that no one was found among the ruins. However, remains were recovered near the last signal location. Tests reveal signs of nuclear radiation and traces of a massive energy blast. It seems this masked guy is investigating our boy. The big shot doesn't want his so-called brother to be put in danger. After all, his mother's last wish was for the big shot to protect his brother at all costs. He reviews the footage of YG's victory in the Anchen tournament, but laments that his younger brother won't be able to enroll in any university. Back to Yi, he's standing there, holding a mysterious package in his hands. He turns it over and cautiously opens it, wondering if the contents will help him in the upcoming Secret Realm exploration. Inside is a handwritten letter. He reads the note and learns about an ancient artifact discovered in the realm. The details leave him stunned, and he stares at the letter in disbelief, surprised that someone still writes by hand in this era. As the sun sets, Redwood Mountain in Ann City glows under the fading light. A massive crowd has gathered at the testing site, thousands of people waiting in anticipation as the Secret Realm event approaches. Among them, we see Chu greet Yi with confidence. Yi observes carefully, noticing how much stronger he seems since their last encounter. Curious, he asks Shu which university he plans to apply to. The boy replies with Guad University, which clearly means the two could still end up at the same school. Suddenly, Yiga perceives a subtle sadness in Chu's demeanor. Just then, a loud announcement echoes over the mountain, calling for the attention of all participants. In the sky, a dimensional rift begins to open. The rift pulses violently as a massive, dark creature with multiple heads starts to emerge from the void. Above Redwood Mountain, the monstrous beast looms in the sky. The participants, scattered across the battlefield, gaze upward, stunned by the creature's overwhelming presence. Amidst the rising tension, a red-haired warrior steps forward and rallies the group, ordering them to defeat the demon and charge into the secret realm. The combat is instant, with so many people charging at a single creature. At this point, the poor creature is already regretting its decision to come here. Inside the secret realm of Redwood Mountain, the participants are traversing the realm's terrain. As they walk, Yige detects a strong metallic scent in the air. From the edge of the forest, a swarm of demonic creatures emerges. Their twisted forms rush forward, charging from all directions. Immediately, an order spreads throughout the group. Take out the monsters first. Before anything else, the fighters respond without delay, and swords and energy blasts tear through the swarm. While the warriors are taking down monsters left and right, Chu is also doing his part. But just as he's about to be attacked by one of the monsters, our boy helps him out. Speaking of our boy, Chu looks behind him, only to find dozens of demonic beasts lying in a melted heap nearby. Their remains dissolve down to bone and smoke. He's in shock when he realizes that it's Yiga who killed all these creatures. It's revealed that he has been using large-scale nuclear radiation attacks, silently destroying the monster's cellular structures without a trace. The onlookers watching are shocked by the speed and scale of the cleanup. Some express doubts about that a high school student could be so powerful, but others remembered the strength shown during the broadcast live stream this year, reminding them how exceptional the top candidates truly are. Jeej and his team stand ready. Power radiates from their bodies as they hold formation. After the intense battle, the leader of the Beast Tide has finally been defeated. The remaining monsters have retreated, marking the end of the assault. Meanwhile, our boy went into Green Goblin mode and snatched up every stone he managed to find. Although he's not sure how he'll travel with all this luggage, his friend Chu lends him a ring that can help him transport the supplies. Just then, the powerful veteran warrior who defeated the beast leader returns. Relief spreads among the survivors upon seeing the big shot return. Without his intervention, the outcome would have been much worse. The big guy turns his attention to our boy and introduces himself. His name is Wusen, from the Silver Wolf group of An City. He directly praises our boy for his performance. He's so impressed that he offers him an S-rank contract to join his elite squad. The contract includes university backing and high-level benefits. Of course, the onlookers react with disbelief. After all, even the top university students rarely receive offers of this caliber. Before Yi can respond, a girl arrives riding a black flame beast. She teases Wusen for showing up so early just to hoard all the potential candidates. She then also invites Jeej to her smaller organization, offering 15% of their monthly cultivation resources. Well, the deal is unusually generous, equivalent to a shareholder-level benefit, and, once again, the surrounding crowd reacts with astonishment, but Jeej rejects both offers. Politely, he clearly states that he's not interested in joining any team for now. Despite the rejections, he shakes hands with both representatives, leaving the door open for future cooperation. With the beast tide repelled, Yi Hei and Chu get back to exploring. They leap into the sky, scouting the terrain from above as the forest stretches out below them. The two of them land on one of the enormous red trees, scanning the vast landscape. Suddenly, Chu spots something strange. In the distance, enormous beings rise up like mountains. While Chu feels a wave of apprehension, my boy gets excited at the sight of these huge giants. He then continues scanning with his life force radar, mapping the distribution of all living creatures in the area. Most of the forest pulses with life signals, but one area is completely blank. A vast section of the southeast appears as a void. This anomaly is so suspicious that he's sure there must be something big there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Without hesitation, he decides to head to Street Lake. A while later, Jeej suddenly finds Sister Yuli in the forest. The girl is here with two companions by her side. Jeej approaches them, asking how long they've been inside the realm. Yuli explains that her team arrived recently and has been exploring the area around the lake. And suddenly, someone bursts from the lake's surface. The guy shouts excitedly that they found gold, claiming to have discovered something under the lake. He tells the others that ancient ruins lie beneath the surface. The group celebrates together. Yeej, surprised by the energy in his voice, asks what kind of ruins would cause such a reaction. Shu explains that, within the secret realms, structures left behind by lost civilizations are known as ruins. These places often hide powerful knowledge, techniques, or ancient artifacts. Chu adds, furthermore, that many of the fundamental principles behind modern martial arts and technology are believed to have originated from such discoveries. Suddenly, Yu Yang goes on high alert upon noticing our duo, and certainly doesn't look pleased. But Yuli tries to calm his companion, explaining that our duo had placed first and second in the last city trials. Their strength is far above average and suggests letting them join the team. Yang eyes them carefully, then demands to know how the spoils from the ruins will be divided. Yi suggests that the rewards be distributed based on individual contributions. The more you contribute, the bigger your share. Reluctantly, Yang agrees to the temporary alliance, but leaves a warning not to step out of line. With the plan set, they dive into the water. Together, they swim toward the ruins, entering a glowing cave, lit by crystal formations hanging from the ceiling like icicles. The glow reflects off the cave walls, illuminating the team's path. They survey the chamber ahead and notice that the deepest section of the cave lies beyond a narrow corridor. Suddenly, Yu Yang realizes that his companion, Li, who was supposed to guard the entrance, is missing. Another companion assumes that Li might have gone ahead alone in search of treasure. Yang shouts Li's name, but gets no response. As the group moves forward slowly, Chu asks if any precautions were taken against potential monster threats in the underground area. One of the girls replies, saying that she and Li placed detection bombs near the ruins, but not a single monster has appeared. Doubts arise about whether they should continue, especially now that Li has disappeared without a trace. Yang angrily shouts that they must continue. Fortune lies ahead, and only cowards turn back. Those who fear risk can leave now, while the rest must press on. As expected, his statement silences the group. Under pressure, no one backs down. Each person prepares themselves and begins to move through the glowing underground corridor with caution. As they venture deeper, our guy can sense the danger looming ahead, but there's no time left to further assess the situation. The danger has already begun. In his mind, he realizes that Yu Yang and Li finding this hidden route in such a massive underground cave is too precise to be a coincidence. The path they followed was likely a trap. Still, Jihaj doesn't waver. He smiles slightly, confident in the trump card he has yet to play. The group proceeds into a vast, underground chamber. There, eerie green vines creep along the walls, faintly pulsing with energy. Looking closely, they notice skeletal remains wrapped tightly in vines, evidence of a massacre that happened here. Further up, they also see the remains of Li's body, which has dissolved into nothing but a skeleton. The group is so shocked that Yu Yang falls to his knees. Not only is the relic they came from missing, but Li also lost his life. But just then, something begins to constrict his body. The same force that took Li is now consuming him. He tries to warn the others to run. Before he can say anything else, green vines explode from his skull in a bloody fashion. He is killed instantly. His body is dragged upwards and impaled by the same demonic vines. My boy steps forward and pulverizes the body before the situation gets any worse. It turns out the demonic beast is smarter than expected. It captured 2 warriors and used Yu Yang to create a perfect bait to lure in more prey. It's already too late to realize it, as they have fallen straight into the trap. The cave trembles as massive vines crash down, sealing the entrance tunnel behind them. The beast doesn't want them to escape. Chu then decides to enlighten this clueless lady. Based on everything they've seen, the enemy is a second-stage demonic beast known as a phantom vine demon. Its power and cunning place it far beyond normal threats. Yuli's eyes widen in disbelief because a king-level beast is something none of them are equipped to face. But my boy is not affected at all. He doesn't care about the classification. The only thing on his mind is tearing the monster to pieces. The ground trembles under the weight of his power as he launches the first strike. At that moment, another force enters the chamber. A powerful man charges forward, his presence fierce and imposing. Our boy notices this burly man. He seems to be the same man who was investigating our boy's past. He explains how he tracked them there using the radiation he left in the mountains. Even after suppressing his presence and following him through stone walls and collapsed tunnels, he managed to follow Jige to the cave undetected. Now he's here to finish what he started a long time ago. The one who escaped his ambush before is finally within his grasp. Jige looks at the furious man charging at him, casually feigning confusion about the attacker's identity. The man, screaming in rage, launches a reckless attack mid-charge, is suddenly entangled by a set of hidden vines that coil up from the ground. He realizes too late that he has entered the lair of the phantom vine demon. Panic replaces fury as he struggles, screaming that the demon is now attacking him, suspecting that it might have been Jige's plan all along. Jige reminds this brute that these vines have the ability to absorb spiritual energy and rage. The man then unleashes a massive blast of energy across the entire battlefield. Yuli watches the battle and spots cracks spreading across the cavern walls due to the high pressure. The structure is beginning to collapse under the weight of their combined power. She yells at the others to get out before the entire cave comes down. Jige focuses his energy and fires a spiraling blast toward the ceiling. The blast pierces through the rock, causing debris to fall. Amidst the chaos, Jige instructs Yuli and the others to escape while he holds back the monster. The attacker furiously roars in response, determined to stop him. Just as the enemy charges, a sudden blast of ice energy cuts across the battlefield. It's our friend Chu, who steps forward holding his sword firmly and blocking the enemy's path. The attacker scoffs at the defense, reminding them that he holds the rank of an 8th-stage martial artist. But my boy doesn't care about those fancy titles. With his lightning-charged fist, he delivers a sudden blow. A fierce strike lands, a technique known as the atomic explosive fist. The explosion spreads in a flash of blue light, shaking the ground. After the strike, Jige turns to Chu and tells him to fall back, acknowledging the difference in rank. The opponent is powerful and Jeej intends to face him alone. He steps forward, telling the others to leave the rest to him. A while later, everyone except our boy finally gets out of the lake, and Chu gets out too. Just as he worries about his companion, a massive eruption of blue energy bursts from the lake, and from the explosion emerges a massive mutant creature. It's a reference to Attack on Titan. Whatever it is, I don't care. But what I do know is that the bastard who was so full of himself has been completely cooked. A while later, Jeej appears in his human form. He leaps from the lake just as his companions rush toward him. After sitting on the ground, he reveals that the guy who barged in was carrying a plasma bomb. Both that guy and the conceited monster died after the explosion, with their joint venture coming to an end. Both teams decide to part ways. He politely says goodbye to Yuli, promising to repay her support once they escape the secret realm. Now the two boys are on their own to go all out and collect as much loot as they can. After exploring together, they return and visit the appraisal center. Jeej slams his bag on the counter. The receptionist warns him to be careful with the loot he has gathered. If it gets damaged, he won't get anything in return. He apologizes and calmly starts placing the bags on the counter. Each one is filled with resources. One after another, they pile up. By the time he places the last bag, the receptionist is looking on in disbelief, barely able to keep up. She hesitates before asking if he's finally done unloading. Jeej smiles and tells her to start the calculations, adding that he still has many spiritual medicines waiting to be appraised. Shortly after, people gather near the center as they begin to recognize the rare herbs in Jeej's possession. The crowd is completely astonished by their high value and rarity. Meanwhile, my boy is busy mentally organizing his inventory, planning to sell the lower-grade magic cores. After all the exchanges, his account receives a credit transfer of 27,000 yuan from the sale. My boy leaves the center, preparing to sell the appraised spiritual herbs next, but suddenly, a luxury car pulls up in front of him. An older man gets out, the owner of the pink pharmacy, and greets him directly. There, mentioning he heard about the herbs Jeej brought in, he offers to buy them at a price above market value. Jeej quickly realizes that someone from the appraisal center leaked the information, but he doesn't mind selling. The buyers came to him on their own, and the price is fair. After the transaction, the luxury car drives away, while the man reminds him to get in touch again next time he has more spiritual herbs. He checks his phone and sees that his bank account has received another deposit of a large amount of money. With the money in hand, he begins to plan his next steps. The standard supplements and low-level herbs from the market have done little to improve his cultivation. If he wants to get stronger, the next investment must be in power. The resources needed for significant breakthroughs are still out of his reach, but another option comes to mind, one that doesn't rely on wealth. He decides to pursue martial arts training. With that goal in mind, he sets off immediately. At Anshen's No. 1 high school, the doors to the principal's office open. Inside, a hot drink is served, setting the tone for a respectful and formal conversation. The principal kindly greets Ji, slightly surprised by his visit. Ji presents a small package from the pink pharmacy, clarifying that it's not a bribe, just a simple token of gratitude. With the principal flattered by the money, he explains his request clearly. Since he hasn't entered college yet, he can't ask his clan for help. He hopes the school can help him find a good martial arts master. The principal suggests waiting until he starts college, where proper training resources will be more easily accessible. But Ji insists he's ready to get stronger now and doesn't want to delay. The principal studies him for a moment and then agrees to make an exception. Recognizing Ji's drive, he decides to help and promises to make the necessary arrangements. The next afternoon, Ji wipes the sweat from his brow after a training session. His phone rings with an update, telling him everything is ready. He thanks the principal and asks which martial arts family is willing to take him in. When he hears the answer, he stops in disbelief. The Liu family of An Sheng has agreed to teach him their secret techniques. On the outskirts of An Sheng, a motorcycle zips down the road at high speed. The girl in the back is enjoying the ride so far. The driver looks like a playboy and is ready to show off even more power. Ahead of them is our boy, pedaling his bike fast enough to keep pace with the motorcycle. He warns the lovebirds to drive with caution because speed kills. Of course, the biker feels humiliated upon realizing that a cyclist is going much faster than him, so the reckless driver decides to go all out, determined to prove his dominance. He speeds up more than he should and leaves his opponent behind. Before the biker can feel proud of pulling ahead, our boy uses his powers and passes the bastard with a speed that no ordinary bike can match. The bikers stare ahead in disbelief, unable to process what they just witnessed. Moments later, Ji arrives at the gates of the Liu family estate. He takes a moment to admire the grandeur of the imposing structure. His radar has detected a group of powerful guys living here. From the entrance of the estate, a girl comes into view. Liu Qin greets him with a smile, but tenses up the moment he tries to tease her. She finally turns and starts walking away. Upon entering the mansion, Liu Qin announces the arrival of JG. At her call, her mother begins to descend the stairs to greet the young man. Her beauty is undeniable, but it's the authority in her presence that stills the air. She introduces herself as Chin Lan, the matriarch of the Liu family, welcoming JG. The scene then flashes back to the past. After the college entrance exam, Liu Qin stands nervously before her mother. As she begins to speak, her mother cuts her off gently, telling her not to be nervous. A large screen nearby plays footage of Yi's performance in the exam. Watching intently, she praises her daughter's exceptional performance in the exam, even though she lost. She then brings up her younger brother. The mother reminds her how her son lacks the talent to lead the family forward, leaving Liu Qin as the sole heir. Similarly, she also acknowledges her daughter's worth, her intelligence, her beauty, her strength, making her their last hope. The Liu family stands on a fragile edge, with her father already in the ground and their future depending on powerful alliances. Without batting an eye, she suggests marrying her daughter off to our boy. After all, Yi's strength, talent, and solid lineage make him the perfect candidate. He's not just a rising star, but someone worthy of the Liu family. She simply asks her daughter to spend time with him and see for herself what kind of future he represents. Back in the present, at the entrance of the Liu residence, Yi bows respectfully and presents a gift. Liu Qin's mother receives it warmly, greeting him kindly. She mentions that the school's headmaster informed her about JG's request to study advanced martial arts. She confirms the arrangement and instructs Liu Qin to guide him. Yi will be taken to the martial arts pavilion of the Liu family. According to the family's rules, he will be granted 1 day inside to train. She explains that deep within the pavilion lie 3 powerful martial techniques, and whether he can comprehend any of them depends entirely on his own talent. JG bows again, offering a formal thank you to the Liu family rather than just to her. The gesture doesn't go unnoticed. Liu Qin's mother silently notes his awareness, noting his political tact and calm demeanor. The girl, meanwhile, watches the exchange, bewildered by the way her mother seems to be looking at Yi with new interest. Without commenting, she leads him through a long corridor underground toward the martial pavilion. As they walk, Yi decides to lighten the mood by making a teasing remark, prompting a flustered denial from Liu Qin. He gets a little too close to her face and she reacts with irritation and embarrassment. The cause of her embarrassment is already clear to us. The poor girl simply can't get it out of her head that he'll be her husband someday. Anyway, they arrive at a huge, sealed door, carved from a rare, reinforced material, designed to withstand high-impact martial techniques. Yi studies it closely and asks if he's allowed to strike it directly. Liu Qin looks at him, clearly unsure if he's supposed to, that he has to ask that question. Besides, why isn't this fool impressed by the material of this stone? Without waiting, Ji unleashes a brilliant blue punch, filled with martial energy. Just as he's about to strike the surface, Liu Jin tenses slightly. The color and force of the technique bring back fragments of past memories, ones he would rather forget. Ji follows up with a second strike, launching another wave of blue energy toward the door. The impact ripples through the air, but the stone doesn't crack or move. Liu Jin lets out a silent laugh at his failure, while the boy is completely confused by what just happened. All he felt was his energy being absorbed into the void. Anyway, she accompanies him deeper into the scroll library. Going deeper into this library, they reach the secret vault containing the techniques. Before they proceed, he is told he can select any technique and unlock it using the identity card he was given. The girl also warns him that mastering a profound level technique in a single day is almost unheard of and advises him to start with something fundamental. And Ji responds with another casual joke, getting a hesitant and nervous response from her. Anyway, she enters the code and unlocks the secure vault where the techniques are located. As the chamber opens, we see small vaults containing the techniques. She further explains that learning Xuan Wan martial arts is all about feeling the martial rhythm within it. If he fails to sense it, then he won't be able to learn it. In short, Xuan Huang martial arts are living beings. It's not the martial artist who chooses the art, but the art that chooses its martial artists. A while later, Ji sits under a glowing statue. All he's supposed to do is absorb the light emanating from it. For context, we go back a bit in time to where the girl explains that Xuan Huang martial arts are not passed down through scrolls. Their transmission is tied to statues, sculptures, tools, and vessels. Any object capable of holding the imprint of the martial rhythm can store and preserve a technique. The legacy isn't written, but forged into matter. Liu Jin explains that only a true master possesses the ability to forge martial intent into a physical medium, transforming it into a durable vessel for transmission. So what happens next is entirely up to him. Returning to Ji, he stays for a moment and then lies down on the floor. Liu Jin watches from the monitor, completely unfazed by his antics. Inside the chamber, our boy realizes that this martial rhythm is a kind of spiritual world, and while inside, he doesn't possess his powers. The system even registers that he has entered a spiritual world. The statue behind him comes to life and reminds its guest that only those with true strength and will can master martial power. It demands proof, strength, resolution, and the courage to walk the martial path. To prove himself, the old man tasks him with guard duty, where he must protect this temple from the hundreds of ghosts that will roam the area during the night. The fall of water droplets marks the beginning of this important test. Immediately, ghosts, red demons begin to invade the area. As those bastards leap towards him, he channels his power, charging against the wave with his sword in hand. Our boy continues his slaughter, cutting down ghosts left and right, as if it were nothing. Meanwhile, the statue watches in silence. Its tone is filled with contempt as it scoffs at the weakness of the current generation, dismissing how far martial arts have fallen. Our boy, on the other hand, diligently does his work, but just as he's attacked by one of the ghosts, absolutely nothing happens to him. Even the watching statue is forced to acknowledge what it sees. Yes, that's right. The ghost can't do a single thing to our boy. It turns out his system is automatically protecting him from these spiritual beings. Thus, in minutes, he slaughters all the ghosts with his majestic golden energy, much to the statue's amazement. Now, the next step is to dive into that well before him. The well before him contains much more than just light. It holds the condensed life essence of the old master, a reservoir of pure martial energy accumulated over generations. Within the well lies a forbidden technique known as the in the flesh. If he can withstand the process, there's a chance that he can integrate the technique into his body. With that in mind, JG dives in without hesitation. The observer watching from above tenses up at the sight. After all, never before has someone entered so boldly, so unfazed by the risk. Inside the well, JG's consciousness is pulled away, taken to a spiritual dimension. He finds himself before a fierce, multi-headed beast, an embodiment of the trial. As the process begins, the blood within his body begins to boil, his muscles contract and his bones convulse, under the pressure of the demonic technique. Back in the control room, Liu Qing stands beside her mother in silence, watching our boy go through the entire process. The girl is losing her mind trying to understand what the hell is happening to this guy. It seems her mother has begun to understand what's going on. The third, martial technique, Suan Juwang, the one sealed in the deepest level of the vault, had once come into the hands of the grandfather of Liu Qing by pure chance during his later years. No one in the family had ever managed to master it. The technique required enduring an unimaginable amount of pain, and no one had the necessary guts of steel to master it, not even her own grandfather. If JG has truly chosen to bear the full weight of that technique, it means he possesses a will far beyond normal, and he must be ready to face whatever price it demands. Just then, our boy wakes up, yawning and stretching casually as if he just took a leisurely Sunday stroll. Against all odds, he has survived the trial. He then turns to the statue and gives his thanks to the old man, directing his words to the ancestors responsible for creating the technique. Although his base stats remain unchanged, he confirms that mastering the technique has doubled his combat ability. Moments later, Liu Qing and her mother enter the room, still processing what they've seen, looks him right in the eye and asks if he really completed the technique. Jig responds with a casual greeting and confirms that yes, he did it. Of course, her mother is at a loss for words. The technique had defeated every practitioner in the family for generations, and yet Jig completed it in less than 1 hour. While Jig is feeling pretty smug, Liu Qing watches him in silence. Although she herself is praised as a genius, she knows that the one before her is on a completely different level. Jig then turns to the group and prepares to demonstrate his power. In an instant, blue and red energy powerfully surges from his body. His martial aura erupts like a storm drawn directly from his internal martial world and transformed into pure force. Liu Qing senses something more sinister buried within that energy, a presence that carries the echo of trapped demons. As for her mother, she is visibly impressed and praises Jig's strength with great admiration. Not gonna lie, Mom looks totally hyped. Liu Qing then suggests that he use the rest of his time in the vault to study the remaining techniques. Meanwhile, the mother is disappointed in her daughter. Although she advises against the idea of her marrying our guy, she's handing over literal generational wealth for no apparent reason. But surprisingly, Jig refuses any more training, explaining that absorbing the last technique took a considerable amount of effort and he has other responsibilities to attend to. Liu Qing's mother accepts his response and instructs her daughter to escort him home. Before he leaves, she casually mentions a rumor about our guy arriving on a bicycle earlier that day. So, she offers to open up her garage so he can pick any high-end vehicle he likes. Remembering that, couple on that cool Hayabusa, Jig decides to get a powerful motorcycle for himself too. We then cut to that Hayabusa guy, walking down the road, having lost his bike in an accident. It turns out to be that pathetic brother of Liu Qing's that her mother had mentioned. Suddenly, a high-end motorcycle speeds past the estate entrance, kicking up a trail of dust in its wake. Of course, it's our guy. The young man from outside freezes mid-stride, realizing with a shock that it's the same person who was riding that shabby bicycle. Back at our guy's residence, Jeej prepares a strange and unconventional meal. On the table is a bowl, full of glowing spirit crystals, arranged with sauce and chopsticks as if it were just another dish. He picks up a glowing blue shard and eats it first, treating it as casually as any other piece of food. As soon as he consumes the stone, his physical stats increase, but it's not enough. He decides to allocate all available points to the giant transformation template, going for maximum impact. Moving on, he picks up a golden demon core to consume, and as soon as he does, energy explodes from within him. His system gives him the option to mutate his Mora template. He is prompted to choose whether to proceed with the mutation. Of course, he hesitates for a moment, weighing his options. After making his decision, he hits the confirm button, hoping to get something really good. Once the procedure is done, he achieves unlock another monster template known as the Star Universe Devourer. Once the Wild Trail Devourer reaches 100% synchronization, there's a 2% chance it will evolve into the Star Universe Devourer. Continuing, our boy is happy to hear the good news. To complete the evolution, he must get the current template to 100%. The only way forward is accelerated growth. Suddenly, a powerful shockwave erupts outside, a clear sign that something big is about to go down. Right outside Yiga's apartment complex, dozens of police cruisers swarm the area as armed officers cordon off the perimeter and evacuate civilians. Suddenly, there's a knock on our boy's door. Yig knows that the original owner of this body didn't have any friends who would just show up like this, and there were no scheduled deliveries, so something is wrong. Just then, he spots a female intruder sitting right on the apartment window. She looks tall, cunning, and lethal. Although we don't know who this clown really is, she hints a bit at her intentions. Her original plan was simple: to hide an item in this apartment and alter the host's memory on her way out. But now that he has discovered her stealth, the situation changes. He will have to be eliminated. Our boy shows no fear. Instead, he takes a moment before dropping the line, asterisk, asterisk, she's already a dead woman walking asterisk, asterisk. Down on the streets, a group of officers clashes with a lone man named Joe. Even with all eyes on him, Joe tries to fight back. Getting cocky, he ignites the forbidden blood-burning technique, but the bastard is soon humbled when our boy drops from the air while fighting that strange woman. His nano-battle suit is now scorched black, which clearly means our boy is giving her a pretty rough time. It turns out these two freaks are accomplices, and the woman announces to her partner that she has hidden the item, so they must retreat. Before the police can contain the criminals, a smoke bomb leaves a dense white fog that floods the street, and by the time the fog clears, the targets have disappeared, vanished into the sewer system without a trace. Just when these two think they've finally managed to shake off the threat, our boy arrives. Yiji wants to know why the woman who broke into his home has yet to offer an explanation. Joe yells at our boy, demanding to know how he managed to track them when not even the elite forces could. But Yi doesn't owe them any answers. In reality, our boy was able to sense the nuclear energy the woman was exuding. When it's time to attack, he doesn't talk. Without further ado, he lunges forward like a missile. His fist is already in front of Joe. Once the punch connects, the energy rips through the bastard, slamming him into the concrete wall behind him, cracking it on impact as dust erupts in all directions. That woman, known as Jime, is left breathless after witnessing this horrific scene. Seeing Joe thrown like that hits her in a different way. To her, that shouldn't even be possible, and whoever trained this kid is not normal. Yeej takes the time to clarify that he is the Emperor's disciple, Wangle. Turns out the woman had never heard that name before. That's when that knocked-out guy decides to get serious and transforms into this grotesque, otherworldly alien, boasting a worthy title of a 6th-level martial artist. This guy is a force to be reckoned with. Seeing a powerful opponent really brings a smile to our guy's face. Meanwhile, that busty woman tries to sneak up on our guy from behind, thinking that there's no way he'll see her coming. But before she gets close, our guy fires an energy beam without even looking in her direction. The force knocks her out of invisibility and sends her flying. Seeing that busty woman knock out like yesterday's trash, her accomplice Joe decides to throw a devastating punch. Afterward, their fists clash in a thunderous impact. The enemy's attack output is tremendously high, and G can feel it. In the next scene, our guy is nowhere to be seen, much to his opponent's astonishment, but then he reappears in his giant humanoid form, intending to crush this bastard under the weight of his heavy blow. As soon as he throws the punch, you can only imagine what's going to happen to that poor guy. The busty woman watches in total amazement, regretting ever messing with our guy. This is way above her pay grade. She has no way to escape, leaving her with only one option: to fight to the death. With that in mind, She lunges at our guy and tries to wrap the humanoid's giant head with strings. This thing is a molecular threat extracted from nano armor, strong enough to cut through high-grade alloys. As soon as she tightens the threads, the humanoid's head disintegrates into nothingness. Just when she thinks she's won, a gigantic energy beam hits her out of nowhere, likely annihilating her into oblivion. Our guy then approaches that wounded bastard, who is completely bloodied and battered. Since he's going to die anyway, he decides to take Jij down with him. What that woman, Yao Jimei, hid in her room is something called the Golden Gene. Now it belongs to our guy, and supposedly, he'll be a target for many because of it. So the death of Jij is inevitable. Our guy shuts this bastard's mouth with a solid kick to the face, killing him on the spot. Jay knows that reinforcements might be on their way and the amount of commotion he's caused won't go unnoticed. So he returns to his apartment, texting Liu Qing's mother, who is relieved to know the police didn't suspect him of anything. He then turns his attention to the Golden Gene, the same thing those guys were talking about. Looking at it closely, he notices a prominent emblem he'd seen before. It was in the Prometheus file that a man once kept. From what Jay can deduce, those two guys stole it from the laser bird and were being hunted while trying to escape. Now those bastards have passed their headache onto him. In the B-level secret realm, Swan Lake, deep in the inner zone, a squad of seasoned martial warriors is in the middle of a hunt. They've managed to corner and take down some blood wolves, while the team captain cuts open the blood wolf's stomach and pulls out the magic core. A low, ominous rumble erupts the forest. The ground trembles under the weight of countless monster footsteps, pounding like thunder, all running in the same direction. What they see next freezes them in place, an endless wave of beasts tearing through the forest and swallowing everything in its path. The highlight of this spectacle is a massive beast known as the Sovereign-class beast, Singwolf. Seeing the monster leading the chaos, the group of adventurers flees in a full retreat. With this tide of Sovereign-level beasts marching toward the city, the adventurers are sure that Ant City will not survive this. You see, high-level magical beasts almost never leave their own territory. That's why the Swan Lake secret realm have remained stable for so long. For a monster of that level to appear here meant only one thing: something was very wrong. The team of warriors is shattered, crushed by the weight of enormous rocks. Outside the secret realm of the Lake Swan, alarms begin to blare throughout the city. The people in the city freeze where they stand. A second later, the mayor's voice breaks through on the city-wide broadcast. A massive beast tide is advancing from the B-level realm of Swan Lake. Estimated time until breach, 20 minutes. The army has already been mobilized and all citizens are ordered to take shelter or evacuate. The mayor's broadcast goes out, calling on every warrior in the city to rise up and fight. Armed police immediately take to the streets to maintain order. Government agencies spring into action, trying to keep the city stable and calm as best as they can. Inside the mayor's office, he goes from one call to the next, doing what he can to delay the inevitable. As soon as his secretary bursts in with an update, he asks about the reinforcements. Who is sending troops? The answer is bad. This city isn't the only one under siege. Raids by beasts have struck multiple regions. Most cities are too deep in their own disasters to offer support, and those that are still holding on are locking down, building fortifications, and preparing for impact. His voice trembles as he asks about Wadu. Maybe someone from there, a warrior of Grandmaster level or higher, could be sent to help. Even one would be enough, but that's also out of the question. An S-class secret realm has just opened in Huanshan City, right next to the capital. It seems the battle for the city has already begun, and no one is coming to save them. They have to fight with what they've got. Elsewhere, on the Chu family's training grounds, Yig and Chu are in a training match. Just as they're about to start another round, a siren blares throughout the district. Seconds later, their phones buzz with official alerts. Pre-university students in N City are ordered to evacuate immediately. Chu breaks the silence, asking if he plans on leaving. But hey, our boy is on cloud 9 after hearing the announcement. He's itching to smash some monsters himself, so evacuating is just a waste. Meanwhile, Lil King heads for the door, ready to go and fight. But her mother steps in and blocks her path. Her daughter is ready to face the beast tide head-on, but the mother won't allow it. Her only priority is Liu King's survival. If she goes out now, there's no safety net, no guarantee she'll return. The entire combat force of An City barely reaches 30,000. Even counting the old veterans and new volunteers, they're less than 50,000 in total. Against a beast tide of that size, they're like boats in a tsunami. And if there are sovereign-class monsters in that wave, that's a death sentence. Even Grandmasters struggle to hold the line. According to her mother, her life doesn't belong to just herself. She carries the entire legacy of the Liu family with her. One mistake and everything crumbles with her. But the girl won't accept it. A warrior clan that can't face monsters doesn't deserve to exist. Without waiting any longer, the determined girl leaves to fight for the good of her city. As soon as she's gone, Aunt Hong comes out. She asks the madam about our boy, questioning if he's going to leave too. The madam decides to let Ji make his own decision. Inside the Swan Lake secret realm, fighters young and old are gathering, preparing for the impending fight. The beast tide has returned for the first time in 20 years, and no one plans on running. Without hesitation, the fighters charge forward to protect their homeland from the monsters. At the entrance to the realm, soldiers stand ready with their artillery and weapons drawn. This is the city's last line of defense. Right in the middle, Juan takes command. He emphasizes that 60% of the city's army is already inside, along with every martial artist ranked available. They're supposed to gather intel and return in one piece, because losing is not an option. Suddenly, one of those soldiers stumbles out of the rubble, drenched in blood, barely holding on. Seeing him, medics rush to help, dragging him toward the mayor's location. In his trembling hand, he clutches a USB drive containing the Vanguard's entire combat log. Zhuang demands answers, wanting to know where the rest of the unit is. The soldier lifts his head and delivers the worst possible news. No one survived. He warns his superiors about that black ape, responsible for wiping out the entire platoon. Finally, the monsters have started to move, ready to pour out of the realm gate. These bastards are cunning. They're intentionally targeting the landmines buried near the realm gate, close to the tower. As soon as the mines are triggered, everything starts to explode. The traps the humans laid are turning into a noose around their own necks. Zhuang roars the order. Counterattack with everything you've got and annihilate the enemy before the damage spreads further. Explosions detonate all over the battlefield, as flaming debris rains down from above. But the main monster boss is sure that these little bitches won't be able to hold out for much longer. Let's cut to our boy, cultivating aura while standing on the tallest building. He's grown fond of this city, so he's not about to let it get turned into mush like this. With that in mind, he leaps off the building, activating one of his monster templates, ready to join the fight. Meanwhile, the city is already crumbling. Aerial beasts descend in droves, flames spread through the streets, and vehicles are overturned, littering the ground in every direction. Chu is also on the battlefield, taking down monsters left and right with his precise sword strikes. Shaolin is also there, fighting the enemy. Suddenly, he notices a beast so massive that he remembers all too well who this monster is. This bastard is a monster of the elite type, a force to be reckoned with. Chu is stunned as he realizes what they're up against. Just as the monster is about to crush everyone with its gigantic fist, my friend fires a huge beam of energy that knocks the beast down. Although the attack is powerful, it's not strong enough to finish off that bastard. Now enraged, the monster swings its hand to attack the new threat. My friend remains unfazed, radiating dominance over the creature lying at his feet. My friend's smirk is so evil that even the monster seems confused, like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? In a matter of seconds, my friend makes his move and unleashes an attack so devastating that the monster disintegrates into an unrecognizable pulp. From nearby, Chu and Shaolin watch in stunned silence. Jiga turns to his friends and gives Chu an order directly to hold the line. Meanwhile, he heads off to support other areas, high up in the air. He begins to scan the area for bigger prey. Down on the battlefield, a monstrous creature resembling an elephant with spikes is causing tremendous chaos. The soldiers do their best to take it down, but the weapons are useless against this beast. A soldier throws his rifle aside and yells the order to switch to swords. With everyone now armed, these fools charge straight toward their own doom. As expected, not a single one survives. They all end up impaled on the elephant's spiky tusks, giving the monster a downright imposing and fearsome appearance. While the remaining soldiers argue whether to retreat or fight to their last breath, the elephant prepares to strike them down with its massive trunk. But before that can happen, the bastard is pierced by a blast of blue energy that kills it instantly. Of course, it's our boy who slams into the ground like a damn meteor. Meanwhile, on other battlefronts, the monsters have begun to retreat to a single location. The awakened fighting there are confused by the sudden retreat. A girl explains that the enemy isn't retreating. They're cornering YG from all directions. As for his introduction, YG is a top candidate who already proved his worth in the entrance exam. In this case, the guy with her suggests they can't allow the monsters to get to him. He proposes joining the chaos to help protect their top scorer. The martial artists of An City have another challenge they must overcome. A Lord-class beast has appeared and has set its sights on JH. They are prepared to protect the pride of An City no matter the cost. They believe they are the saviors of humanity and, as heroes, they must hold the rear guard, the only line that keeps the residents of the city safe and protected from the giants. Mayor Huang Ting is also protecting his people from within the city limits, using his signature Earth Vein seal. He's aware that his seal won't stop all the primal beasts and that his focus must be on eliminating the sovereign beasts. Suddenly, a monster climbs over the Earth Vein seal and leaps at him, but he reacts quickly and chars the low-level beast before it could even reach him. Once again, another giant appears, a 4th-tier mountain-crushing python, a Lord-class king species. This beast is the strongest mount of the blood-eyed black ape, and its arrival on the battlefield only indicates that the ape must be getting nervous. The beast unleashes the mountain-crushing Dominator Hammer, one of its special abilities to bury its opponent in rubble and debris. However, Mayor Huang emerges from the rubble unharmed and reveals that he already knew his enemy was good with Earth-type attacks. He then counterattacks with Serpent Wave Burst Martial, an attack just as strong, if not stronger than the last. This energy blast inflicts heavy damage on the beast, but it's still not enough to overpower it. The retaliatory attack enrages the beast to another level. As the beast prepares for another round, the mayor considers himself lucky to have obtained information on it. If he hadn't gotten it in time, the situation could have taken a much darker turn. Worse yet, if it had entered the city, defeating it would have been much more difficult. In a burst of fury, the mayor unleashes a flurry of blows against his opponent, but his enemy already has something to counter his attack. The mountain-crushing python grows spikes all over its body, making it practically impossible to penetrate its defense. Things go from bad to worse when another beast attacks from the shadows. It turns out to be the blood-eyed black ape, and it was hiding inside the stone spike. The ape is not satisfied with how this battle between the mayor and its minion is unfolding. To show how insignificant humans are, it crushes the mayor with its bare hands. Acknowledging Mayor Huang Ting's capabilities, the black ape claims to have confirmed that there are no strong martial artists left in City, which means it can kill everyone without restraint. However, Mayor Huang Ting will never let that happen. He launches Blade Wind Tempest to stop it, but the enemy dismisses his actions as useless, declaring that his death is inevitable. The ape further adds that it no longer has a natural enemy on this field. This has become a game for it. It wants to make humanity drown in fear and despair. The Blade Wind Tempest unleashed by the mayor makes no difference. The caster himself admits it was fast, but incredibly weak. On his second attempt, the mayor does the exact opposite. He launches a powerful attack, but it's so slow that the enemy dodges it without even breaking a sweat. After the mayor's multiple failed attempts, the ape decides to show its full strength. Once it closes the distance between them, it throws a punch that the mayor surprisingly absorbs it like it's nothing. John King gives it a fearless look and angrily tells it that it has miscalculated things because it's an arrogant beast. The mayor lifts it into the air using his forbidden blood technique. This is the moment when the beast discovers it has been lured into a formation that its enemy had prepared beforehand. To end this fight, the mayor unleashes the Earth Vein Seal, but it's several times more intense than the ones he had shown before. The ape admits that its enemy plans to bury it underground, which sounds naive to it. It lets the mayor know that the moment he falters it will annihilate every human here, smiling. The mayor shows the surgical scars on his chest, revealing that this isn't a backup plan, but an anthem to humanity and courage. He then starts beating his chest where his heart is. Confused, the enemy asks him what he is doing. He reveals that he buried City's only nuclear warhead under the battlefield before this war escalated. The detonator is implanted in his heart, and if it stops, Liva detonates. However, the enemy assumes he's lying because no one would bet their life on something like that. The mayor states that as the mayor of City, he would never back down from this. After all, he made a promise to his people that he would serve them. Now with his life flashing before his eyes, he feels he has done enough. He finally closes his eyes, embraces death, and stops his heart, triggering the detonation of the nuclear warhead. The explosion is so incredibly massive that the martial artists on the front lines hear it loud and clear. Before this explosion that gave birth to a towering cloud, the martial artists receive an evacuation signal. Now, witnessing the end of the battle, they stand in complete silence. The warhead's explosion wiped a huge portion of the city out of existence. The mayor gave his all to achieve this, but not even destroying a large part of the city was enough to kill the evil black ape. The black ape begins to regenerate, and after twisting and reshaping itself, it transforms into something even more terrifying. Although it was far from full power, it couldn't believe that it had almost been eradicated by a human. Enraged, it decides to slaughter the last person in the city in the most brutal way. However, its fight with the mayor has weakened it, and since it cannot continue, it decides to return to the domain of sin, the realm where the beasts come from. It plans to return once it has recovered its blood and chi. Just as it's about to leave, Jay appears and calls out to it from behind, asking where it is headed. The black ape remembers him as one of the greatest threats and recognizes him as a terrifying prodigy. Aware that it's too late to escape, it considers it a pity, although it's more than ready to fight and win against him. Jay unleashes the Radiant Energy Blast Fist, confident that it will be enough to defeat his opponent. However, his enemy emerges from the smoke unscathed and calls this moment a perfect opportunity to kill him. The top scorer tells it that if it had taken the chance and escaped, it would have survived his mini-nuke, but now it can't evade what's coming. This mini-nuke from the top scorer is so impressively huge that the evacuated martial artists deduce it was another trap set by the mayor. The black ape, nearly charred to death, looks at Jay, now in his armored titan form, and calls him a monster. The beast calls him the more bestial of the two, because not even king-rank beasts possess an aura like his. The top scorer declares that he is not like them and then starts throwing successive blows at the enemy. Although weakened, the enemy still manages to impressively evade his attacks. He tells him there's no point in running, which only fuels its rage, prompting it to warn that he shouldn't be underestimated. Once again, both sides clash with all their might, neither willing to back down. But in the end, the top scorer emerges as the victor, ending this fight with minimal damage taken. He acknowledges the sovereignty of the blood-eyed black ape, admitting that this fight wasn't easy for him, even in his armored titan mode. What's more, the ape managed to injure his arm, although he has already healed it by now. Despite wielding inhuman strength, it still wasn't enough. The enemy reveals that it gave its all in its last strike, and since it failed to take down the prodigy, it is now certain that it cannot win. With that, it starts running for its life. However, Yig is not going to tolerate that. No. After Mayor Huang Qing's sacrifice, he unleashes the Radiant Pulse Strike to kill the evil ape, but it manages to evade its enemy's attack. The evil ape dove underground to play dead, but this only means one thing: it's afraid of death. Since it's severely injured, Yig believes this is his best chance to hunt it down. He discovers that beasts like his enemy can completely suppress their life force, and thinks that if he had found it a little sooner, Mayor Huang might still be alive. But since it's injured and its stealth won't save it, even the slightest trace of its life would give away its position. Just as he's thinking about his enemy's life force, he suddenly senses it in the distance and starts firing beams at it. Before the ape's position was exposed, it was very close to reaching the entrance of the Sin domain. It blames the late mayor for its impending failure and, in the blink of an eye, it finds itself plummeting through the air. In its last, desperate efforts, the evil ape begins to burn the last of its core's power with the intention of taking its opponent down with it. With its core's remaining power unleashed, it regrows one of its arms and lunges toward the top scorer with a suicide attack. When the two sides collide, they both sustain a great deal of damage. In this collision, they both lose their dominant arms, the ones they use for their ultimate attacks. Just as Yi thinks he has destroyed the enemy, his head starts spinning from a sudden mental attack. He assumes another beast might be on its way. When he looks back, he glimpses countless limbs emerging from the ground, dragging the ape out of sight. Shortly after, limbs begin to grow from his giant's joints, jamming them to the point where he can't move them. The top scorer smirks, realizing that this is what the evil ape is doing to stop him, which is never going to happen. He activates the Wicker Flame Howl, a spell that allows the giant to unleash flames, 1,000 degrees hotter. Meanwhile, pushed by the limbs, the black ape gets very close to the entrance of the domain of Sin. However, despite having come this far, it still hasn't escaped death as the flames are closing in. It panics upon seeing literal death following it, and at that critical moment, the limbs carrying it toward the entrance of the domain of Sin begin to merge to form a face. Shortly after, these limbs transform into a colossal creature with feminine features, and upon witnessing such power, it wonders if it's seeing another sovereign. If this is its true form, it thinks it will be finished in a second. This newly emerged sovereign opens its eyes and shrieks so loudly that the scream echoes in its enemy's head, even as it has silenced the giant servant's auditory system. Yig is consumed by rage. He can't just stand by and watch the monsters leave after everything they've taken. He reverts to his usual crazy self. He gives the sovereign an obscene gesture and then detonates a nuclear warhead. The explosion is so immense that it fractures the secret realm, leaving the martial artists outside the battlefield doubting the mayor's victory. Although they know the odds are against them, they still cling to hope. The invasion of the secret realm was stopped. The martial artists swept through the city, eliminating every last remaining beast. And City won, but at the cost of 80% of its protectors. Later, when he wakes up at the site of the nuclear detonation, he realizes he's lost track of time. He remembers concentrating all his nuclear power in his core toward the giant servant for that massive explosion. But the atmosphere here is still ravaged by radiation and the remnants of atomic force. This battle was a bloodbath. He had to blow himself up several times to finish this job before that brute could drag him back. He admits he was no match for a sovereign-class beast, not even when he had the infinite monster template activated. He believes he got lucky. He emerged as the victor because he had time, terrain, and luck on his side. With no idea when he'll unlock his next template or if it will be gold level, he admits that the Stellar Thunder Titan template is still his best option for his maximum combat power. To achieve this, he needs high-grade plant-type monster cores that are compatible with the fusion template, especially blue, purple, and gold ones. Additionally, he's also thinking about mastering one martial arts. If his template can adapt to the martial rhythm field, body refinement is key. Zanwan techniques develop more slowly than template abilities, but their potential is much greater. That is the reason why he came to this world. A month has passed since the An City crisis, and the city has already erected a statue in memory of the late mayor Zhuang Qing. The top scorer is sitting on a bench in a local park watching a broadcast detailing the devastation caused by the beast tide. Through this bulletin, he discovers that the beast tide ravaged 18 cities in the Shia nation, 12 of which were completely invaded. Among them, Wanghen City completely vanished into the S-class secret realm. To investigate this mystery and, of course, rescue the inhabitants of Wanghen City, 30 Xuangu martial artists and 5 grandmasters were sent under the leadership of Du Jiming from the prestigious Great Sha Dragon F-Shay organization. After everything that happened, Wanghen City is now the 12th global death zone with over 1,800,000 fatalities. Deeply shocked by this coverage, he realizes that he can no longer remain idle, though it seems he already has a clear idea of his next move. He immediately calls Qin, who answers the phone thinking he's going to ask for the other 2 Zan Juang manuals. With a nervous laugh, he informs her that his plan is to collect extremely high-quality plant-type monster cores, preferably blue, purple, or even gold level, and that he needs her help for it. She immediately lets him know that what he's asking for is extremely rare, almost impossible to get. Lord-class cores are priceless, costing a true fortune, and since he's requesting something of that caliber, she, of course, expects something in return. In response, he explains that Guad University is holding a realm trial for new students and assures her he will team up with Chinsu to help her get first place. That is precisely what he plans to do in return. However, she thinks he's underestimating the other elites in the city and tells him with complete honesty that her daughter is, at best, upper mid-level. Furthermore, she's convinced that even if he defeated her in a fight, he is far from being a monster himself. He assures her with total confidence that he is the right person to restore the Liu family's legacy. Surprisingly, he seems fully aware that this is the real reason she has been supporting him. She finds this offer quite amusing and agrees to help him. Later, he arrives at the hospital to visit his friend. After pushing through the crowd, he finally gets there. A large crowd surrounds his friend, who is completely covered in bandages and starts to sob about his pitiful and miserable situation. At that very moment, a complete stranger suddenly greets him. Not recognizing him, the stranger formally introduces himself as Liu Shan, who turns out to be his first opponent in the tournament. The top scorer is completely stunned when he notices Liu Shan's amputated leg, but the young man asks him not to look at him with such pitiful eyes, assuring him that his leg is not completely lost yet. In the worst-case scenario, he could undergo regeneration surgery or, failing that, get a state-of-the-art combat prosthesis. Seeing how incredibly optimistic he is, despite having lost it, he considers him a true and authentic warrior. Meanwhile, a fighter named Liu also receives an invitation to Guad. Seeing how his 2 main rivals receive an invitation, Liu Xuan feels deeply annoyed and frustrated for not having been invited as well. Before the registration date, JG recalls a monster to ensure that his recent fight with the blood-eyed cloud ape was successful enough for him to abandon his training. He ignores it and finally lands on the train at high speed. Feeling his presence even before he landed, the carefree martial artist acknowledges with a slight smile that his friend has become even stronger once again. As he boards the train, he realizes that this is in fact his first stop since he transmigrated to this world. With those words, he bids a final farewell to Anner City. His best friend explains the awkward situation, telling him that he absolutely must stay. He explains that these are the best fighters from different cities in the Xia Kingdom. He details that this train was specially manufactured, implying that he is able to find a few powerful individuals on board, none of whom would have been able to withstand more than 5 of his moves. The professor and students in the cars immediately notice something is wrong. Everyone on board begins to enter a state of widespread panic. Some speculate that this could be a test. JG was about to take a nap, having strongly suspected this would happen upon his arrival. His desire was to rest and relax near the entrance of the front car. However, a menacing threat appears that cannot be postponed for another minute. A violently injured person informs JG that the first 3 cars have been completely consumed by a dimensional space. The enemy is using a terrifying field to drag people into a separate space, further complicating the situation where battles can't be fought normally, and he warns of the gravity of it all. He stresses to those brave enough to listen that the situation is absolutely serious. As soon as Shinan finished mentioning that he has a first-year student at the front who is strong enough, he demands proof. Exasperated by the situation, the young man claims to be the only surviving student. Looking at him closely, the coach asks him how he knows this. He says a girl is leading the defense and entrusted him with a message, demanding that under no circumstances should he advance. He shockingly reveals that she took a blade for him and was gravely wounded. He claims he will fulfill her last wish and ensure that he survives. Before he could say anything more about last wishes, the top ranker strikes him. She hasn't even died yet. Annoyed by his pitiful behavior, Chujo draws his sword. The top ranker kicks him in the stomach. Immediately after, he gives him a first blood pill. Once that's done, he tries to inspect the first year, shining a light on him without delay to rescue Chujo, and in no time at all, They reach the entrance to the dimensional space. Just as the first-year student had mentioned, he doesn't waste a moment and jumps directly into the portal along with Chujo. Once he manages to enter the dimensional space, he starts to feel quite unwell. However, what seems to worry him more than anything is the fact that he can't see his friend anywhere. He has simply disappeared. Despite this situation, he continues to move forward and soon finds himself in the middle of a city completely in ruins. Realizing he can't use his vital sense, hidden in the depths of the city, the artists who are still amazed wonder what great, sharp edge, very worriedly. But the enemy takes his nuclear fist head-on without showing the slightest sign of flinching. The enemy counterattacks by stabbing him with its weapon, which however proves completely ineffective due to Iji's amazing super regenerative ability. He smiles confidently, surprised by the effectiveness of the saber weapon, able to cut through his defense as if it were going to get stuck and block the enemy's jaw. Inside the corpse, he discovers a pendant and wonders if it's a trial token. He must, managing to rip its head off. In a way, it was incredibly sharp, yes, but only until the chi imbuing it completely vanished. Curious about the pendant he just discovered, he assumes that his main task is to hunt more enemies with pig masks and snatch their pendant objectives, to detect the enemy's presence when the battle scenario truly begins. It happened so fast, he couldn't see the powerful being's face and is now very curious. Quickly closing the distance, he confirms that it is indeed a rabbit-themed mask, following the Zodiac pattern. When Jay tries to attack again, the enemy cleverly outmaneuvers him by changing its trajectory in mid-air, deflecting his path and striking just as an opening presents itself. But at that crucial moment, an imposing shield of an ice wall suddenly appeared before him, trapping the rabbit-masked enemy between the ice walls. Chujo leaps forward, but the adversary dodges the attack effortlessly. The rabbit-masked foe tries to counterattack just as his ally attacks from the side and crushes it in the palm of her hand. A few minutes earlier, a group of survivors hidden throughout the ruined city is wondering what's going on. One thinks that whoever caused the explosion must have just entered. She has only heard of such prominent names as Yis from Wadu, Lanusi from Chengdu, and Xin Shen from Liuli Island, who have already begun hunting the evil masked ones, which is quite incredible to believe. Furthermore, she is convinced that the first-place spot this year will undoubtedly come from that select group. That's how powerful they are. But then, she suddenly realizes that another absolutely ridiculous explosion has taken them completely by surprise. Students, observing the magnitude of the explosion from another area of the ruined city, are some of the first to realize it was likely caused by an outsider. The pendants for the dog, monkey, and horse have been claimed, and the one from Chengdu has in all probability already gotten the goat pendant. Xin Shen from Liuli Island possesses the snake pendant, and Qinzu, who seems to have joined forces with them, managed to kill the Minotaur and took Wai's pendant. Assuming all these masked individuals follow the Zodiac pattern, there are only 5 pendants left. To find the pig, the rabbit, the rooster, the tiger, and of course, the dragon. However, the fighter in the dragon mask is like an invincible boss, an encounter that guarantees death and from which they can only escape by fleeing. He's completely sure that whoever set up this game is holding at least a few pendants. He reveals the boar pendant in his hand, which will also be traced back to him. He explains that before arriving here, he eliminated a warrior wearing a pig mask and managed to extract this pendant from his head. He seems to have figured out how this trial ends, by collecting absolutely all the Zodiac pendants hidden on the masked individuals. His friend also understands that they are proactively hunting all the masked people. The top scorer tells him about another masked enemy that he previously encountered on a rooftop, one who unfortunately managed to escape during all the chaos. Fortunately, that enemy's arrow grazed him slightly, which allows him to track them without any trouble. As they follow the enemy's trail, they come across a clearing with obvious signs of a battle. He realizes someone used powerful ice magic to immediately expose their location. A girl, the infamous first-year student, Lan Yusi, who had been using an optical stealth technique. Coming to Yui's aid, another popular first-year student appears, Xin Chen from Luli Island, who unleashes his genetic art, the flame demon physique, to directly attack Chucho. However, the top scorer skillfully intercepts the enemy's attack and manages to save his friend with the valuable help of the demonic pendant strike. Since his genetic art was completely thwarted, he blames Yu Yi for having such weak optical stealth. He approaches them and asks directly if the two of them were setting an ambush. The girl clarifies that she had just arrived. The scorer isn't convinced at all by their story and grabs her firmly. At that moment, he was expecting a very important outcome. He flicks away a cigarette. He quickly assesses the situation, and shortly after unleashes his wind rise technique to join the fierce fight. Even after unleashing an attack of such magnitude, Chen claims it's not over yet and launches with total nonchalance a blast of heat to completely eliminate the opposition. Believing they have fallen into an eternal sleep, Chen mocks them, sarcastically urging them to laugh. Just as he finishes, Jiha applauds and disperses his flame cloud. And before Chen can even acknowledge his astonishing physical strength, the top scorer's powerful punch sends him flying through the air. They all find that none of these great talents has managed to break through, seeing that it was completely sealed by a barrier, as even the first year. Students from Wad possess a slight advantage at this stage. She was too focused on him, she had never before found someone whose powerful magic went far beyond just making sure she couldn't run. She realizes the situation has changed. However, the top scorer grabs her by the ankle in midair and forcefully smashes her face first. At the moment of impact, the girl uses her hollow chaos steps to attempt a desperate escape. Watching her run for her life, he smirks for a moment and then unleashes his from running, and since she can no longer flee, he orders her to surrender immediately. Langes finally gives up and, with no other choice, hands over all the pendants she has managed to collect. He tells her that things wouldn't have escalated to this point if she had been completely honest from the beginning, and he would have found her in the last stage of the test to snatch the pendants from her even if he didn't attack. He adds that the other participants from the city are among the best freshmen, and it's very likely they have already gotten a good number of pendants. Knowing she has absolutely no chance of winning, she offers to escort him to where the elite freshmen are with the clear intention of causing trouble. He replies that she shouldn't be found and the outcome of the fight doesn't matter at all. He wants to win, and they are getting closer and closer. Not long after, they stumble upon a body cut in half. Getting a little closer, they realize with horror that it's Chen. A few minutes earlier, after battling against Jig and managing to escape by the skin of his teeth, he was ambushed by the fearsome enemy with the dragon mask. While someone deeply laments his vision because Chen died, he couldn't react in time. He seems to have already figured out who it was. He enlightens his friend, however, explaining that he assumed the mask would operate for a single kill, a single strike. He mentions that he had taken more than 20 freshmen to the underground to find Sei at that time, but now, unfortunately, what they should do at this very moment. Now that this has simply been snatched away from the students, he is completely sure that the dragon mask is indeed the culprit. The boss can move. The freshmen must have been tasked with defeating all the other masked individuals of the Zodiac and challenge the dragon mask in an impossible task that has them going head-to-head with the rabbit. He transforms into his ultimate form and sends a powerful signal to the desolate wounded city. She clearly remembers being the winner. She was heading to take a bus to Wadu but was inexplicably dragged into these dangerous trials to stay aware of the dragon mask's murders as long as she doesn't cross paths with a master. The person says that another party has detected her presence and will come to snatch her pendant. Although she doesn't really care much about that, she has a strong feeling that her fake fiancé needs those pendants. Right now, she could only think about luring the enemy to that place. It turned out it was the Z signal she was exposed to. While watching from above, he notices that the figure below is Chengdu. She seems to be carrying the wise pendant, and he also realizes that she is luring him directly into the underground parking garage where Dragon Mask is waiting for him. He considers her a complete fool, since Dragon Mask has already left, and there is absolutely nothing left in the parking garage. Asking Sheng Shen to wait for him right there, he goes after her to catch her. Chasing after Qin Chu, he yells at her, telling her she can't run away. In the precise instant he's speaking, he feels an extremely sinister energy. Frightened, he quickly looks around and spots the silhouette of Dragon Mask, something totally impossible, since Dragon Mask should have been chasing the other pendant bearers. Sensing the enemy's killing intent, he wonders if their real targets are actually the ones carrying the pendant. Since he has 4 pendants, he is completely sure that Dragon Mask would come for him first, totally unable to withstand the pressure. He admits that he was too overconfident and has now put himself in grave danger. At the exact moment he is about to escape, the enemy violently drags him inside their domain. It's a technique that works by making eye contact with the caster, and Z was forced into it. Now that he has captured his prey, Dragon Mask attacks without delay. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Yi and Chucho are facing off against Cheng Shang. It seems the duo saw Sei's signal and pursued it without hesitation. That's how they ended up here, coming face to face with him. The carefree martial artist tells his friend to let him handle this, simply because he wishes to test his own strength. To the surprise of them both, the enemy overhears their conversation and suddenly charges at them. However, Chujo dodges his strike using Ice Vein, only to be attacked yet again. This time, however, he counterattacks by blocking with his Wind Soul Cutter blade. Jay is proving to be a truly formidable opponent. He fights as if he were one with his sword, and is fearlessly pushing his opponent back. After exchanging a few successive blows, which proved to be considerably inconclusive, both sides begin to unleash their biggest weapons, their magical beasts. Meanwhile, Yi watches their fight with an expression of complete boredom. Suddenly, Shen Shang picks up a distress signal coming from his best friend, which makes him feel very anxious. Informing his opponent of this very urgent matter, he says he must retreat immediately, but the top scorer has no intention of letting him leave. He throws an immensely powerful and forceful punch, taking him completely by surprise and off guard. Being thrown several meters back, he thinks he was knocked down by a mere magical beast. The top scorer calmly approaches him, revealing that it was his own handiwork, and complains about his horrible, high-pitched shriek. Song interprets it as an ambush, but Jigo corrects him, saying it wasn't an ambush at all. His fist was simply much faster than his own thoughts. Enraged by the way his enemy phrased it, he declares that he will kill him without mercy. And yet, barely 3 minutes later, he's lying on the ground, completely beaten to a pulp, as he managed to last a whole 3 minutes against the top scorer. The latter tells him not to look so completely crushed, after all. Chen was only able to withstand a few hits. Inspecting the elite freshman's blade, Jig thinks that he still needs some major improvements. His friend, meanwhile, informs him that the pendant is barely flickering. He hadn't expected it at all. He used every single one he had bought from the Secret Realm's mines. Absolutely all of them. And this was as far as he could get in his attempt to seal the martial energy and the power flow of Dragon Mask completely. One would have to strike his heart directly, even. After sacrificing one of his trump cards, he was still able to land the final blow and drive his sword into him. Failing and panting, she just climbs the stairs to the rooftop of the tallest building in the city, completely exhausted. She knows Dragon Mask will come for her after finishing off Wang, so she plans to bring her friend here and escape with him. Once she reaches the top of this particular building, she'll fire a signal flare, just as Jay did a little earlier. This would allow them to reunite, activating the Abyssal Sparrow Blood Awakening. She manages to send a distress signal, but the effort completely drains her energy, and she collapses. Just as she's hoping he'll get the message, she hears the heavy footsteps of Dragon Mask looking down from the rooftop. She spots the villain getting dangerously close to her. Panicking as she realizes she's been caught, she quickly considers sending another signal to warn her friend not to come. Unfortunately for her, Dragon Mask appears right before her, activates his domain, and gets ready to strike. Her eyes fill with tears as she accepts her inevitable fate, but her friend arrives just in time to save her. As he descends, he reminds her of the promise he made to her parents long ago, and as a man of his word, he won't abandon her. The top scorer swings his sword with such incredible, dizzying speed that it halts the enemy's terror for a brief moment. Turning to Chinsu, he tells her to head to the East Alley because Sheng Shen, Chushou, and the little brother he just took in are there. As for him, he'll personally take care of Dragon Mask. After regaining his balance, Dragon Mask makes a flashy entrance, slicing an entire building in half as he confronts him directly. He admits to his enemy that when he received the distress signal from Chinchu, he realized something was very wrong here. Jiha mocks him for fighting like a turtle hiding in its shell, seeing the nail embedded in the enemy's chest. He guesses it must be the plan to deal with Dragon Mask that Sheng Shen had mentioned. Seeing the enemy charge straight at him, the top scorer unsheathes his sword, matching the enemy's speed with his own. Swift reaction. Despite showing unwavering confidence at the start of the battle, Jig now struggles to contain Dragon Mask. At the critical moment, he transforms into his magical beast form and unleashes a blue blast of energy at the enemy. Since Dragon Mask is the first decent opponent he has faced in this world, he acknowledges his strength and also knows that his opponent won't go down so easily. Suddenly, his eyes land on the enemy's face. The mask has cracked, leaving it slightly more exposed. To him, this feels much more fitting. After all, the unbeatable boss Chen Long was never going to fall so easily, or at least that's what everyone had thought. With his mask shattered, Dragon Mask gains even more speed and strength, and in a matter of seconds overwhelms him and slices his blade into two distinct pieces. After breaking his sword, Dragon Mask takes advantage of the situation and mercilessly tries to strike him from behind. The top scorer's incredibly fast reaction allows him to deflect the enemy's attack using only his teeth. In the next moment, he counterattacks, driving a punch straight into the enemy's stomach in the blink of an eye, thus taking him completely by surprise and off guard. With these successive and powerful blows, he completely dominates the enemy. However, he declares that he's not finished and throws another decisive and forceful punch. When Dragon Mask clashed with Z, the latter drove the bronze spike into his chest, disrupting his chi flow and blocking his vital meridians. The top scorer is now targeting his vital meridian points with blows charged with deadly, dark energy to leave deep and lasting internal damage. Suddenly, Dragon Mask kicks his sword into the air and launches it directly at the top scorer. Fortunately, Y had already expected such a low blow and was able to react with great speed. The first time Dragon Mask caught him off guard with a single strike attack was due to the information gap that exists, and even then the enemy only had a 30% chance of winning. However, the fight isn't quite over yet, as the top scorer strikes back with two incredibly powerful punches, one after the other without rest. After making the enemy take two punches, the top scorer isn't done with his assault yet. He follows up with his Black Flash Mountain Fist. The attack sends the enemy flying through several buildings before crashing violently into one. Jeej expected Dragon Mask to be much stronger, but after clashing with him, he realizes the feared boss isn't as tough as he seemed after all. Just as Dragon Mask is about to respond to his taunt with fury, the top scorer aims for his head, instantly decapitating him. Now that he has killed the last of the Zodiac mask wearers, he has obtained the Dragon Pendant and is seriously considering ending the trial. Shortly after, the top scorer reunites with Sheng Zhang, Chucho, Qing Chu, and others who had been secretly waiting for his triumphant return. Qing Chu wanted to accompany him herself, or at least have someone else go with him, but the top scorer's carefree friend tells her that aside from why, everyone else would have just gotten in his way. Looking back, she completely agrees with him. At that time, she was severely injured and unable to use her martial techniques at all. If she had accompanied him, she would have only distracted and hindered him. Noticing she's lost in thought, he leans in closer and asks if he can borrow her pendant. Shortly after, he collects the 12 Zodiac pendants from everyone present and arranges them in a completely random order. But when absolutely nothing happens, the carefree martial artist guesses that he must have placed them in the wrong order. As they try to figure out what's wrong, Shen Zhang steps forward and informs them that the Dragon Pendant wasn't designed to be one of the Masked Hunter pendants. Basically, the Dragon Pendant is useless. The others, who hadn't reacted at first, begin to tremble violently upon making contact with each other. Seconds later, a bright cloud forms in the sky and soon a gigantic eye emerges within it. The gigantic eye absorbs the top scorer and suddenly, he opens his eyes aboard the Wadu train. And it's not just him, every freshman on board the train returns, even those who had died. Once everyone is back to reality, an announcement is made over the train for everyone. The train attendant, likely an instructor, first reveals that they were all lured into a magical illusion realm created by an artifact called the Mirage Eye. Yes, and this was the freshman test for the Imperial Capital University. In fact, after this, another announcement is made by the train attendant, declaring Yi Xinggu and Chu as the top rankers for having collected all the Zodiac pendants. Furthermore, the top scorer will receive a special prize upon enrollment for his outstanding performance in the test. All the freshmen are completely stunned by the announcement. None of them expected an unknown face to take the top spot in the rankings. The system's declaration announced him as first, and he celebrates that his bloodline isn't considered special. Fortunately, the evolved form of this template possesses a very useful time-freezing ability. While he's busy celebrating his victory, he's approached by Jia and his friend, and the former asks him if he is the one who really defeated Dragon Mask. The top scorer corrects him, saying he didn't defeat the enemy. He simply killed him, plain and simple. Zhao leaves all the freshmen bewildered when he invites Ji to join his new club in Wadu as president, a club that hasn't even started yet, enlightening him on how the Wadu locals have a firm grip on the student council and the top freshmen each year. He extends his arm for a handshake and remarks that he hopes his strength will break Wadu's tradition once and for all. However, the top scorer rejects his offer, saying he prefers to go it alone. After receiving his response, they decide to leave. But before he goes, Jia hands him a business card. Yeah. Shortly after, the train arrives in Wadu City, a city that appears to be a large metropolis. Upon getting off the train, the freshmen are escorted to an airship and are instructed to take their seats according to their corresponding roll numbers. Seeing Qingju walking towards the airship, he sneaks up behind her and scares her. In that instant, she remembers her mother's warning not to let her fake fiancé take advantage of her. In public, even if he's her fiancé in name only. Snapping back to reality, she yells at him, but he explains quickly that he just wanted. Country bumpkin, she points to the sky and tells him that's the direction of Wadu University. Indeed, a little later after boarding the airship, he looks out from the airship at the impressive city of Wadu, amazed by its revolutionary technology. As the airship passes through the electromagnetic network, he notices that the detection range is considerably reduced, which makes him realize how prestigious Wadu University really is. After the airship lands, he is issued an ID card and is directed to Maglev Station, where a train will take him directly to his dorm. Upon arriving at the Wadu dormitory, he celebrates proudly, unsettling the other freshmen. The Edge's room is on the 42nd floor, Unit A3, while Chujo gets off the elevator on the 45th floor, Unit B7. Meanwhile, upon entering, the top scorer discovers his dorm room is a spacious 100 square meter single room, something that feels like a real dream. He also finds a starter guide, and quickly figures out how to maximize the discovery template, how to use his student, and log into Wadu's dedicated apps, the Wadu Pass. The Academy's city market is accessible only with a Wadu Pass and operates exclusively on Academy points as its official digital currency. Luckily, he converted over 30,000 Milat coins into Academy points at the bank, When he checks his phone, he discovers that 100,000 coins are equivalent to just 1 point. What a rip-off. A complete robbery in broad daylight, for real. However, the Academy market has some very serious products, and there are also items that aren't sold on the regular market at all. He labels this exclusive privilege as one of the perks of being a Wadu student. He plans to buy just one blood attribute magic core for now. Shortly after, drones arrive to deliver his package containing ready-made blue and green cores. Once he has eaten all the cores at once, his vampire raccoon template's compatibility reaches a full 100%, but the price is a rather painful stomachache. Aside from his stomachache, the template's effects are truly incredible. Not only have his fangs become sharper, but so have his nails. Yes, suddenly a daring thought crosses his mind and he digs his sharp nails into his own neck. After slitting his throat and coughing up blood, Yi's vampiric regeneration quickly becomes noticeable, to his surprise. However, his bodily mutation is secondary, as what really matters to him is his new and powerful ability, Crimson Calamity. Just a few moments later, when he goes to the Wadu University dorm's training grounds, he summons a raccoon to train with. Without further ado, he orders the magical beast to go all out on him. Combat, and she responds by unleashing a wave of power that he struggles to withstand. Once he calls for a timeout, he activates the Crimson Calamity, the time freeze that he can only maintain for 5 seconds for now. Once he surpasses the 5-second limit, his body begins to react negatively. Yes, forcing him to give up at exactly 5.4 seconds. The original owner of the body could withstand it for 5 seconds, but he feels lucky to have surpassed that limit, really. The next morning, as he walks toward the sports pavilion with his best friend, he finds that he doesn't like the sunlight, although it's nothing too serious, really. Chujo asks him if he's seen Wadu University's new academic reform for the year. Since he was busy fighting Raccoon last night, he simply comments that he hasn't heard about it at all. The carefree martial artist explains that Wadu University has changed its previous teaching model based on classrooms, yes, and has adopted a group mentorship system. Now, that means that each academic year, the students will study under a main mentor with assistant mentors supporting them throughout. When Yige says they need to find a mentor, his friend tells him that everyone except him has to. Of course. He reveals that an announcement was made last night and, since the top scorer has collected the 12 Zodiac pendants, the institution grants him the right to directly choose any mentor he wants. Upon arriving at the athletics hall, they find the place completely packed. While his best friend joins the line, JG decides to take a walk around. Since he can choose a mentor at will, he's not worried about the timing of getting in at all. Upon leaving the hall, he perceives a strange and strong smell of blood. He thinks that if it were ordinary, it wouldn't be unusual. But this blood carries a hidden, fierce intent, like a sea of murder and sin. Following the trail of the scent, he ends up encountering a girl who is eating organs. Gio is surprised to discover that a cute little girl is the source of a terrifying aura, really. Just as he begins to wonder if he's mistaken her for someone else, she suddenly asks him if he's been using the flesh-binding demonic prison by any chance. When asked how she knows this, the girl says that she helped Xiao refine that art a long time ago. Upon hearing that name, the top scorer remembers a moment that he doesn't want to revisit at all. The girl adds that Liu Chun was her disciple 90 years ago. Yes, assuming that she's joking with him, he reminds her that it's true that martial artists can live longer than the average human being. Yes, and a grandmaster could still be in their prime at 90 years old, but he can't comprehend her current appearance. She looks like a preteen, really. He's aware that certain martial artists can compress their skeleton into a childlike form. Yes, plus he believes the level of purity the girl is showing is not an act at all, not something so incredible that even an Oscar wouldn't do it justice, really. Despite that, he decides to throw out some sarcastic remarks, which only enrages the girl even more. She shows him a glimpse of her power and traps him in a deep, deadly illusion, so overwhelming that it leaves him trembling, chilled to the bone, unable to move. Her killing intent was so overwhelming that it made him hallucinate he was actually being decapitated. Just as he tries to speak, she shoves a strawberry gummy into his mouth and apologizes for overdoing it. The truth is, she's afraid of the school authorities and doesn't want him to report her. Calling herself pitiful, she adds that she only gets 1 or 2 hours of outdoor time a week, nothing more. Curious, he questions her true identity. The girl introduces herself as Gong Kei, a powerful grandmaster. In fact, she adds an interesting tidbit, revealing that she once made Shi Jingwen, the president of Wadu University, cry. Yes, conceding that Gong Kei refined the Zhanjuang martial art, he believes she can help him overcome his current bottleneck. As a slaughter-type grandmaster, she's the perfect match for him, without a doubt. He begs her to please accept him as her disciple. Hearing his pleas, she makes a peculiar face, for real. Inside the Wadu University Gymnasium, the deans of Wadu University's 5 academies are serving as mentors for new students this year. Yes, if one were to become a disciple of any of them, their life would be set forever. However, it's highly unlikely they would waste their time on anyone like them at all. All the freshmen believe the deans have nothing to do with them. No, the truth is, they are here for the top scorer who completed the Zodiac trial. Yes. What the new students don't know is that the Zodiac trial was broadcast live with every professor at Wadu University watching. From the train broadcast at the beginning, the faculty was evaluating how each student handled an unprecedented crisis. Indeed, this was made possible with the help of AI, which analyzed micro-expressions and reaction patterns. Each student's response was graded, and those who rushed into Zodiac City unprepared received poor marks. As expected, Jig was the only student to get the highest score in all aspects, but even that didn't impress the deans. What really left them speechless was that the top student managed to defeat a boss that wasn't even meant to be fought, the untouchable, certain death boss, Chen Long. This boss was a battle model designed by Manhwa, the national-level supercomputer, trained on the data left by Fu Hongshen, a national-level martial artist, from the time he entered Wadu University. Although not all of Fu Hongshen's abilities could be fully replicated in the Mirage realm, the fact is that Fu Hongshen is the strongest martial artist in the history of the Chia nation, or possibly even the entire world. For Jig to defeat a model based on him, even if it wasn't a perfect replica, is already proof of his monstrous talent. As long as nothing hinders him, he will surely reach the Archmaster level. From now on, the deans can only wait until he chooses his mentor. Just as they are waiting, news arrives that the top student has asked to be the disciple of Gong Ke, the former professor from Imperial University and current special instructor. Back to them, Jig is hugging and pestering the Grandmaster, begging her to accept him as her disciple. Although she looks like a nobody, she's technically over 100 years old, which is why he kneels before her openly in broad daylight. In response, she says he could have been expelled from Imperial University. He traps her by commenting that he'll return her freedom in 2 years only if she takes him as her disciple. She accepts without a second thought. Suddenly, the deans of the 5 academies of Hua University appear before Yi and Gongke to confront the latter. One of the 5 deans respectfully reminded her that she had agreed not to contact the students during her release time. Furthermore, he adds that her current mental state is not fit for combat. All the deans there want her to return home immediately. Gongke asks the top student for his name and then tells him to follow her. Following the Great Master Gongke, he arrives at the Wadu Research Institute, her place of residence. She explains that this place has been her home mainly because she had issues and kept hurting people. She adds that in recent years she has learned to control herself, so now she is granted occasional freedoms. Her cheesy comments make him realize she has a strange way of thinking. As they head down the hall, he notices how narrow it has become. She replies that it's like that because only she is meant to pass through there. When he notices a timer outside the door, he asks what it's for. Just as he mentions the countdown, she runs towards her room and tells him to follow her inside. As she runs, she explains that every time she goes out, that clock starts ticking. If she doesn't return in time, the alarm goes off directly in the office of the Wadu director. If that happens, she would be hunted down by the university. Barely making it inside in time, Yihei notices that his martial energy cannot gather properly outside his body. This indicates that all martial arts techniques will be significantly weakened here. Gongki calls this institute her confinement cell because to prevent her from escaping, Shi Jingwen and his team built her this huge 3-level house. It's equipped with everything from entertainment to training rooms. Everything she could possibly want is right before her. Additionally, there are layers of high-powered magnetic suppressors to disrupt martial energy in case she tries to escape. While she sees the institute as a cell, the top student considers it a luxury suite. Elsewhere, President Shi Jingwen is informed by phone that Yi has become a disciple of Gongke. The president tells the person on the other end of the line that their goal is not to create a group of mid-level talents. They are grooming someone who can carry the future of Jia and all of humanity. When a true genius appears, their job is to fully support them. He wants the top student to train under Gongke. With the special training camp for freshmen coming to an end, Yi will serve as the whetstone for those budding blades. Afterward, he is informed that Gongke has returned to the confinement zone on time and that everything remains stable. However, predictive analyses still label her as dangerous, even with someone accompanying her. The president calculates the top students' chances of survival and concludes that they are scarce at best. The special class combatants are either convicts on death row with incredible strength or martial artists with uncontrollable power. Their freedom is restricted during their free time, but when Shia faces a real crisis, they are deployed to the front lines as national-level weapons. He hopes the new generation will grow up fast. In the confinement room, level 3, training room, she reveals that it's been decades since she last taught someone and now she wants to start with a spar to see where he's at. Before the session begins, she suppresses her cultivation down to the martial stage to train with him. Once he's ready, she gives him a signal, and the fight starts instantly. He doesn't want to experience that guillotine illusion from before, so he plans not to hold back. In an instant, She moves forward and aims for his throat. He executed at least 5 dodge patterns, but they all failed. She was reading his body like a book. With only one option, he transforms into his magical beast form to take her attack head-on. She smiles, realizing he's trying to use his bloodline awakening to increase his speed, defend, and counterattack all at once. However, she leaps over him, grabs his shoulder, tells him she's faster, and slams him hard into the ground. The impact with the floor caused him to bleed all over. The Grandmaster didn't hold back, going all out, and as a result, his awakened bloodline reverted him to normal. Tasting the blood dripping on her face, she murmurs that it's been so long since she last tasted blood. Admitting he's no match for her in physical combat, he lets her know he's going to use some slightly unfair martial arts, unleashing the mega humanoid template. He feels lucky to have spent all night maxing it out. Meanwhile, the Grandmaster is also amazed by his technique. Although he's still in the martial disciple stage, she feels as if she's facing some kind of monster. She declares that it's her turn to get serious. As both sides clash with equal force, JG gains an advantage by unleashing the ancestral humanoid form, the armor plate humanoid. His direct punch is intercepted by her spiral strike fist, shattering parts of his armor plate humanoid. He's shaken, admitting that she tore through his armor plate humanoid, which is flesh-forged armor with a defense dozens of times stronger than the mega humanoid. Even with all her vitals suppressed, she still senses him and lunges directly for his face, the area of the armor plate humanoid's body where he is hiding. However, he activates the split form, meteor humanoid, just in time, launching spikes from its body. But before the spikes can reach her, she changes her trajectory and backs away. Having pushed his master back, he prepares another blow and challenges her to try and cut through his next attack. Just as he finishes speaking, he once again falls into a hallucination back in the same place as before, unable to break free from the guillotine. In an attempt to free himself, he summons Saguarudo. He realizes that he pushed the Grandmaster too far and now she has dragged him into her domain. He is also aware that this isn't the real world. It's a mental illusion formed by her bloodlust. To break free, he also needs to counterattack with pure mental strength. Moments later, he opens his eyes to find her beside him. He assumes she must have violently ripped him from the humanoid form by force. What's more, she shattered the outer hardened layer that had crystallized to protect his true body. However, that's not something a martial disciple should be capable of, which suggests she must have cheated. In response, she argues that she fought fair and square, though she used a bit more force than she intended. She admits that she sometimes misjudges her own power during the first few strikes, but when her eyes meet his, it's clear from Jay's expression that he refuses to accept that. As she cries, she promises she won't cheat next time, even though she has had fun for the first time in decades and now doesn't want him to leave her. As he tells her to stop crying, he assures her he won't leave. He points out that he worked hard to become her disciple. It wouldn't make sense for him to leave. Afterward, she says she has a good idea of his strength. Although he's nowhere near her level, she acknowledges that he's gifted. Now that they can train, she asks him what he'd like to learn. He replies that he wants to learn advanced martial techniques and to understand how she cut through both the lightning and his humanoid's arm. She refers to that move as cutting and states that it's difficult to teach. She adds that one would get the hang of it after cutting enough things. When asked what kind of knack, she explains that it's called the line. Whether it's a human body, a magic beast, or any object, there's always a precise entry point, a line that can be cleanly severed. It seems to him that Gonki's style differs from Qianlong's, though the latter also focuses on cutting. If Qianlong's cutting is about overwhelming force and piercing sharpness, then the cutting of the Grandmaster is like that of a butcher with perfect precision. Since learning to cut is a complicated process, she recommends he first become a martial artist. Without a solid martial foundation, he's not even qualified to learn most techniques. Suddenly, she asks if he knows the difference between a martial disciple and a martial artist. Seeing he's clueless, she tells him it's more than just a physical enhancement, it's also about the mind. Compared to disciples, martial artists gain a critical new ability, internal vision. With internal vision, a martial artist moves from broad martial cultivation to a detailed, micro-level refinement. Through it, one can see their own meridians, pressure points, and internal organs, then use martial energy to reinforce them, expanding the limits of the physical body. She says it simply, first a strong spirit, and then the body's strength. Having understood what she just said, he realizes how great his master is. It's no wonder she's a professor at the Imperial University. Even if she's a bit unhinged, her knowledge hasn't regressed at all. Suddenly, she speaks up, telling him she's noticed a distinct increase in his mental state. This will give him a great advantage in the next stage, martial artist. Intrigued, Yig asks her how the advancement methods differ once someone reaches that stage. She explains that advanced techniques and martial skills are classified into 4 levels: Tiangong, Disha, Suangguang, and unclassified. Typically, Students from vocational colleges or lower-tier schools only have access to unclassified advanced techniques. The benefit of these techniques is that they are easy to use. Anyone with enough blood, energy, and martial power can advance. More than 80% of martial artists advance using unclassified methods, but students at Wadu University start with at least Xuanzhuang level methods. When he shows he's eager to learn more about the other two advanced techniques and martial skills, she explains that Tiangong level skills are more or less sacred relics. Most were recovered from hidden realms or ancient ruins, and now there might not even be 10 left in the entire world. Although he can learn a Disha-level advancement technique, she herself has mastered the Slayer's Heart-Body Sutra, a Disha-level advancement technique. What's more interesting is that the demonic cage bound to Xiao's flesh was inspired by this very method. Hearing her also talk about that Disha-level advancement technique, he becomes captivated to the point of wanting to learn it immediately. She tells him to prepare to experience the killing intent domain she just created for this. With that, the training begins. Later, as Yiga's class is dismissed, his best friend, who is out for a walk, bumps into him. Just as Chu-Chu is about to greet him, the top student shoots him, a lethal glare full of killing intent. Frightened, he jumps back. When the top student notices him, he apologizes, calling it a reflex. Startled by the killing intent from before, he asks him what it meant. About 10 hours ago, in the illusion realm, Yige was fighting a horde of zombies. Gonki orders him not to use any skills or martial power. He must rely only on the blade in his hand. However, when he mentions he's not optimistic about a large number of zombies, she explains that the point is to let his body remember the feeling. This would help him get used to the sensation of cutting skin and splitting bones. Additionally, he can train his muscle memory so he can instinctively locate the death line and strike better. Once he starts cutting down the zombies, his master is surprised by his remarkable talent with the blade. It's dangerous to train within her Disha-level technique, and most martial disciples aren't even qualified to try it. It's thanks to Yiga's abnormally high mental stats. Otherwise, the killing intent alone would have devoured him. Now she understands why Shi Jinwen calls him the rising star of Guado. The next morning, he already feels tired from just one day of training, but he now understands why this is considered the best university in Xia. While he's taking a shower, Xinshu calls to tell him that her mother has sent what he asked for. It's with her now. She adds that her mother also wanted to thank him for helping her daughter secure first place in the freshman team trial. He replies that will stop by her place to pick it up soon, but she assures him she'll just send it over with a drone. After that, he gets her to reveal that the woman from Kanabai had taken her as a disciple only because she thought Chin Chu had potential. When she asks who he got as a mentor, he chooses not to reveal that he rejected 5 deans in a row, otherwise, she would probably lose sleep over it. Soon, about half a semester later, the first term was coming to an end. Wadu University was an eventful journey for the freshmen. For example, Z did exactly what he had told Jig before. He formed the Dragon's Blood Society by gathering elites from various provinces. They quickly became a very influential organization among the freshmen, although that's not really that relevant. But after the Wadu students returned from their summer camp, a major clash occurred with the Dragon's Blood Society. As tensions escalated, duels broke out between the Dragon's Blood Society and the local students. And as expected, Z's organization lost more than it won. At this very moment, the most popular freshman goes by the name of Shang Chen Hui, or to be more precise, he might be the most renowned rookie in the entire nation. After all, he was the top scorer on the demanding Wadu entrance exam. During the live broadcast of the exam, his impressive powers left everyone completely astonished. He has spent 3 long months solidifying his martial artist stage. She claims that every time he gets tired, she injects him with martial energy while he maintains a position. Imbued with her profound knowledge, she gets on his back. The top scorer has to carry her entire weight on his back, since she has completely sealed her own martial energy. What's more, the way her martial energy writhes throughout his body feels like it's tickling him to death. Upon seeing him complain, she mocks his obvious weakness and with total disdain calls him useless. Driven by a deep anger, he pushes himself to the limit, forcing himself to do more and more push-ups. Far surpassing 1,000 push-ups, a sudden burst of blood energy tears through his completely exhausted muscles, destroying them and replacing them with newly forged strength. After obtaining this new and powerful physique, he tells her that he's heading home, as he has been trapped inside the institute with her for 3 long months. When she asks if he will truly return to her, her emotions completely overwhelm her. He reassures her with a very positive answer. The top scorer hasn't just been hanging around, something very important has actually happened, since the only absolutely crucial part of the grading system is the missions. He goes to greet his best friend, and just as he does, his friend appears to say hello. He reveals he reached the martial artist stage 2 months ago, and this is the first time they've seen each other in 3 long months, although on the surface, there's no obvious change in his build, physique, or in his friend's aura. About 3 days ago, the carefree martial artist was invited to witness a private ring match between the freshmen, expecting it not to last more than a few minutes, but it turns out the society president wasn't even giving his all. Now he wonders if his incredibly strong best friend could defeat the hottest rookie of the moment. While they're having a lively conversation, Chin-Chu arrives at the scene, since it's been a long time, and she's finally able to meet him face to face. In this moment of pure ecstasy, she remembers her mother's valuable advice to do things that couples usually do with Ji. After all, they're supposed to act like a real couple in Wadu. Blushing intensely, she closes her eyes, tilts her head up, and with great embarrassment, puckers her lips for a kiss. She is left completely bewildered when he points out that she hasn't even greeted him, even though they haven't seen each other in 3 long months. Now that the three of them are finally together, Ji glances at a large screen showing the most popular missions and the most outstanding completions. His best friend and Ji are here exclusively to team up. While the two chat animatedly, Ji, completely absorbed in her screen, brings up 3 available missions and explains that it's rare for a squad to clear all 3 missions for one mission, but now one of them has been claimed. For the top scorer, this isn't a problem. He now has a. Shaking himself out of a flashback, Ji had previously given him a card. That privilege card, right at the moment he starts to get stressed, he adds that the first is a human with rather low efficiency. The second is a support minor investigation with very little real action. The third, on the other hand, puts the whole process in their hands with a high risk, but also a high reward, this being the level 3 one, and they both completely agree with him. Later at the reception desk, the receptionist dismisses their request as complete nonsense, reminding them that a second-year squad was already completely wiped out in Link Shui. When Yi shows her his privilege card, she flatly refuses to believe him and threatens to report him directly to the director. However, her attitude changes instantly after she makes a call and speaks directly with the director. After getting what they came for, he tells them to prepare all the equipment while he goes to pick something up. Sometime later, the top scorer arrives at the College of Mechanical and Magical Forging and meets with one of the deans from the 5 academies of Hua University. He informs the dean that he has come here to claim his weapon, the valuable prize he won in the pendant war. The dean praises him for having skipped his satyr skill to choose a weapon instead and then presents him with the sword. It lacks elemental attributes but channels energy to the blade with impressive efficiency. It has an engraved hilt that is also wrapped in malleable black leather for greater impact, with fine filaments. Every cut he makes rides on a gust of wind, presenting an excellent flash of light, although the sword was designed according to his old masters. He now recognizes the company of his friends upon their arrival, who are on an undercover mission. They must act like completely ordinary students doing an internship. The top scorer covers the entire county with his life field detection, bringing his monitoring template to 71% in just half a quarter. He is doing this because he feels there are people around with very bad intentions and wants to take care of them before they can escape. Just as Chujo suggests they should go check out the house that the Imperial University has arranged for them, they get a ride on a cargo tricycle. The driver of the cargo tricycle, an elderly man, asks Jeej where he's from and what he's doing in this place. The top scorer replies that he's from Lingchu County, studies in Yuncheng, and has brought his 2 classmates here to have some fun. The old man doesn't recognize him at all, which prompts him to reveal his family details. Jeji tells him his grandfather's name, Ji Shirong, who unfortunately passed away a few years ago, and he moved away after that. Before landing, the top scorer reviewed the Lingchu dialect on the plane, and his cover identity actually exists. Shortly after this, they arrive at the Wadu mission base, as the top scorer and the others are about to thank the old man for giving them a completely free ride. They thank the old man, but as soon as they step inside the house, they realize that it hasn't been inhabited for at least a full decade. And what's more, there are mosquitoes, but that's no problem for the top scorer. He simply stomps his foot on the ground to make it completely clean. After dropping off all the luggage, he decides to install micro cameras around the mission base for thorough surveillance. Chin Chu, meanwhile, says she'll check the inside of the house, but she suddenly stops and calls him over to look at something. That something is a shrine that, according to Jeej, shouldn't have been there originally. He explains that the shrine is made of wood, and if it had been here for a long time, it would have completely rotted away many years ago. Chujo realizes that the shrine must have been placed in the house by someone else, and, since he doesn't like the look of that statue at all, he plans to knock it down without hesitation. King Chu, however, suggests they don't act so hastily, as this could be an extremely important clue. To her great surprise, when she turns toward Jay, she finds him completely prepared. The top scorer immerses himself in his black liquid before it starts to pour out of him. He summons Otto, and with his valuable assistance, the carefree martial artist manages to seal it completely. Meanwhile, Chinshu begins to be corrupted by the statue's psychic energy, and to free her from its nefarious influence, her fake fiancé channels an amount of pure martial energy into her. With the previous wave of terror now completely gone, her body feels warm inside. From the looks of it, all of Ling Xu's anomalies are intrinsically linked to this strange clay statue. Thinking they've made their first real breakthrough in the investigation, he tells them to wait there while he goes to take care of something important. Earlier, when they got off the tricycle, Yi Ji marked the old driver with a discreet radiation marker. He believes that with the precise timing, he'll be able to lure him in. Elsewhere in Lingua County, at the Yinhan Buddhist temple, a monk greets the old driver, addressing him as a benefactor, and escorts him to where the abbot is waiting. Very soon, both of them are standing before the abbot, and the monk informs him that the benefactor has met the standard of blessing and that he also has something important to report. The abbot asks the old man about his true intentions and why he has arrived so suddenly. Suddenly, one of the monks, a lizard-like creature, senses the presence of someone other than the old man. Just as he is about to attack the old man, firmly believing him to be the traitor, Ji swoops down from the sky and lands directly on his face, completely distorting it. Fortunately, he wasn't contaminated by the splatter, all thanks to Saguaro, who keeps the filth completely off him after he taunts the enemy. However, these actions draw the enemy's attacks, though he ends up crushing the enemy anyway. Now, he immediately hides his spatial ring and summons his powerful sword, the Star Blade. His sword gives him a clear and decisive advantage in the fight, but the challenge escalates even further when the Buddhas begin to shoot powerful lasers from their eyes. Nevertheless, he agilely dodges the slow beams and cuts through the rest of the enemies, including the old driver. From the very beginning, his life field didn't detect any vitality whatsoever coming from the two bodhisattvas. He is now completely convinced that they were not living beings, but what puzzles him most is how such a place. He orders Saguaro to force the door open. Once the path inside is clear, he sees a giant Buddha within. Noticing absolutely no one around, he calls for the enemy to come out of hiding. In no time, a monk appears and tells him that the temple holds no grudge against him, asking why he is being so disrespectful. It turns out the monk speaking to the high ranker was actually a robot, and he already knew it. When he cuts the enemy down, another identical replica appears right behind him, acknowledging the blood karma of the high ranker. Just as he is about to charge in for another strike, he falls into a strange, sewer-like place that has a total of 18 doors. Soon after, a huge pack of lizard-like beasts, ranging from level 1 to level 2, begins to appear. Sensing the same energy coming from these beasts, he is certain they are artificially produced bio-androids, mass. He's thinking of overwhelming the entire horde of beasts with a single, decisive blow before they can gain any kind of power. Summoning the Star Blade, he unleashes the Zhang Huang Blade art. In its first form, Thousand Leaf Harvest, he begins to cut down the enemies with a wide smile and in a very short time accumulates countless corpses. Upon beheading the robotic monk, he gets extremely annoyed hearing it repeat a pre-recorded line over and over again. Although he's causing real havoc in the temple, the puppeteer hiding behind the curtain still won't deign to come out. Just as he's thinking about the puppeteer, the monk transforms into a grandiose form, a giant statue, and tries to crush him with its enormous hand. But instead of dodging it, he embraces it completely. Just a few milliseconds later, the giant reports an energy spike that goes beyond its own limits. The temperature rises to a truly unimaginable level, and he emerges in his magic beast form, breaking through the giant's hand. Now, matched in size, Yi begins to completely dominate the gigantic statue. After throwing a series of powerful punches, he says he's not done yet and launches into decisive knee kicks. The enemy suffers critical damage and begins to activate multiple warnings. Being pushed to its absolute limit, the enemy fires all its weapons through its batteries. It can't believe it's facing someone who can force it to launch such a large number of attacks. Yi tells it that its weapons are completely useless against a martial artist. However, the giant still attacks with techniques like meteor personification. The top ranker counterattacks by unleashing the powerful Baokian breath, and this time he finally manages to completely crush the giant. After defeating the enemy, he finds a descending passage and without a second thought, jumps right into it. Half an hour before this, a group of scientists who were executing an evil plan noticed the top ranker stepping onto their grounds. When they saw him take down the mechanical bodhisattvas at the entrance, they thought the newly built gate would surely stop him. After he broke into the hidden chamber, they believed that their army of cyborgs and tens of thousands of bio units would be more than enough to stop him. But once again, they were proven completely wrong. The second in command of the operation, a scientist, tells the leader, a doctor named Feng, that their only hope lies in the Mecha Buddha combat set, which was ultimately destroyed into countless pieces. With Yi dangerously approaching them, the doctor decides to use the guards to buy some valuable time, while he and a few members retreat. The non-stop self-destructing court leaves no one standing before him. With absolute calm and precision, his cold eyes are fixed on the dying man as he searches for the truth behind the deaths of 3 young martial artists and the dark secret that the old man explains in a weak voice that he has a monitoring device implanted in his head, which will trigger an explosion if he ever reveals absolutely anything. And as he speaks, Jake studies him very closely and notices a very rotten tooth deep in his jaw, which releases a faint trail of greenish smoke. Realizing that his time has run out completely, the old man clenches his teeth and the poison surges forcefully through his veins, burning his throat as his face contorts in unbearable agony. Jake watches in silence, kneeling by his side, with visible irritation, as he concludes that the poison had been preloaded as an additional precaution used by the reckless members of Laser. Before he can decide his next move, the laboratory lights flash intensely red, and the shrill sound of a siren fills the air, signaling the self-destruct sequence. A vampire-like creature emerges from the deep shadows, swinging swiftly over the lifeless body. Its limbs pierce his throat, a dark miasma spreading with great hunger, consuming every trace of his essence. But under G's absolute control, the transformation changes course and the corpse begins to regenerate instead of rotting. An intense red light completely floods the room as Dr. Fang's skin tightens, his body rejuvenates, and his once dull eyes open once more. What now stands before him is a creation he studies with deep satisfaction. He has completely achieved a perfect bloodline, one that is immune to light, resistant to destruction, and completely obedient. He instructs the new creation to remember the first time the doctor hesitated, then recalled making an offering of the villager's flesh, calling it fresh and sacred. The images shift to a dark hallway where an old man sleeps deeply before a Buddha statue, while Fang's assistant murmurs that the deep sleep makes it much easier to transport people to the lab. Yi feels a deep unease settle in his chest as he realizes something completely unnatural is happening in that place. The vision changes again, showing Dr. Fang kneeling before a clay idol, whispering strange words as he rolls up his sleeve to reveal a series of numbers carved deep into his arm. Driven by great confusion, he begins to decode them, finally discovering that the sequence corresponds to a secret access key. When he enters it into his computer, encrypted files completely flood the screen. But before he can process them, his consciousness begins to fracture, and he realizes his memories are being rewritten. In a last, desperate act of consciousness, he carves the code into his arm to serve as a warning for the version of himself that will remain after the manipulation. The memories become increasingly dark as the terrible truth comes into focus. The raw flesh is actually human flesh, and all the experiments and disappearances lead to a cult called the Offspring of the Void. Kneeling completely before him, at the end of his mission, he confirms all of this, explaining that the organization erased their minds and turned them into obedient vessels. Yiji's anger surges as he looks at the doctor's pale face and recognizes the three young martial artists among the victims of these terrible experiments. In the flow of recovered memories, he sees how Dr. Fang's pursuit of progress twisted into a true obsession. The man who once dreamed of enhancing human potential had instead opened the door to forces that were completely beyond his control. Through Fang's last memories, Yi learns that it all began with an ancient relic carrying a parasite known as Imotai, a living organism that invades the mind and feeds on human will. It spreads silently, and as it grows, it drives people to cannibalism and an endless sleep, reducing entire towns to mere offerings that nourish a much greater power. Fang once believed his own cruelty was unmatched, but compared to the cult, he was utterly insignificant. The Divine Descent Nation had gone much further, sacrificing an entire city to feed their god. At last, the pattern becomes completely clear. The relic, the experiments, and the upcoming festival are all part of the same design, leading directly to the awakening of Imotai. Yiji's breathing steadies as the truth settles in, and amidst that cold realization, a vague memory comes to him, reminding him of the grand celebration in 2 days, and he realizes the old man gave him crucial information. Yiji's eyes turn cold as he confirms that the memories have been completely extracted. He turns to the doctor and explains that this base belongs to the Laserbird organization, but he wants to know more about the Divine Descent Nation, the demonic fetus, and the 3 Wutada warriors. As he studies the doctor, he realizes how much information he has obtained from him, including the secret experiments that Laserbird conducted. Though tempted to act now, he reminds himself that Wutada will deal with them later. Still, the idea of the golden gene interests him, as the doctor studied it and understood its power, but he decides the matter can wait until he resolves the incident in Ling Shui. Thinking about the school's mission and the seal, he feels very conflicted. Wutada had already allowed the investigation to end, but the reward now matters little to him, and he decides he will claim the results of the Divine Descent Nation's prize for himself. After some thought, he orders Dr. Fang to hide in Ling Shui. He will provide his blood and mix it into the water system to maximize the infection. The doctor laughs, calling him insane, but he calmly explains that the people of Ling Shui have already reached the 4th stage of contamination and cannot return to normal. He intends to control them and, later, if possible, restore them to their former lives. At least under his control, they won't harm others again. When Yiji returns to the old house, he brings food from Ling Shui. Liu Qinju and Su Hojo are hesitant upon seeing him. Yi Ji understands immediately that they have guessed its origin. Su Hojo trembles as he explains that they have found signs of cannibalism among the people. Yi Ji just smiles silently, knowing they are close to the truth. He tells them everything, and Liu Qinju stands up, enraged. Shocked that an illegal experimental base could exist for years under Lin Shui, Su pales and says that even a major biotechnology company has fallen to corruption here. Liu Qingju insists that the threat exceeds level 3 and that they should call Guada for help, but Yi refuses, knowing it would cost him his credit. Almost on the verge of collapse, he assures them that the mission is dangerous but manageable and that fear will only slow them down. Jig puts his hands on their shoulders and tells them to hold out until nightfall. He has already seen people eating raw meat and worshipping clay statues, and he believes that only at night will the true nature of Ling Shui reveal itself. At Laserbird headquarters, the board of directors holds an emergency meeting after learning of the destruction of the Yihan Temple base in Lin Shui. Reports confirm that the base's self-destruct program was activated but was interrupted, suggesting something went wrong. Communication has been completely cut off. A masked director orders the detonation of all the cardiac bombs implanted in the researchers to eliminate every witness, while a special forces team is dispatched to Ling Shui to investigate. Back in Ling Shui, an explosion rocks the central water plant as the doctor's implanted bomb detonates. Thanks to his vampire power, his body survives despite losing blood rapidly. Trembling, he informs Jig that Laserbird has activated the bombs and, although he removed his in time, the special forces are already on their way. Jig immediately instructs him to continue with the plan, and the doctor obeys without hesitation. As night falls over Ling Shui, the streets remain silent. A train arrives, and several passengers get off. They are led by a tall, bald man named Catfish, who laughs at how quiet the city is. Behind him, a woman named Ares, carrying a baby, confirms that the great dragonfish was not involved with the Yin's temple base. With them are a short-haired girl named Blue Bird, a silent man, Golden Snake, and Black Lion, a sharp-eyed man with glasses. He orders them to destroy all experimental records and equipment. The 5 of them walk through the empty streets, speaking in low voices. Ignoring his team, Black Lion reminds them that blending in with the environment is part of the job and quickly assigns roles. Golden Snake and Blue Bird will investigate the city while he, Ares, and Catfish will move toward the Swan Sea base. Golden Snake and Blue Bird enter a nearby house to investigate. In the kitchen, a container full of rotten meat gives off a foul stench, swarming with flies. The sight turns Golden Snake's stomach as he realizes the residents might be eating human flesh. Forcing himself to continue, he enters the living room and notices a clay statue in the corner, identical to the one seen earlier by Jie and his team. A strange unease rises in his chest as he senses something corrupt about it. Meanwhile, Blue Bird is speaking with her superiors through her communicator. She learns that the Buddhist temple base was destroyed by a single martial artist who annihilated everything inside. Tens of thousands of creatures lie dead, and fortress-grade armor was shattered by sheer force. Dr. Fang's body has disappeared, while a sound is heard. The connection suddenly cuts out, and he wonders if the signal is being jammed. Approaching the window, he looks outside and freezes. The streets are filled with people walking slowly with their eyes closed, and he realizes that an entire city has fallen into a mass sleepwalking state, and they are now surrounding them. Golden Snake realizes that his position has been exposed and instinctively backs away. But before he can send out a signal, a blade pierces through his abdomen. The attacker is Bluebird, the one he trusted most, whose eyes now emit an unnatural light as dark energy gathers around her body. The strike confirms that her will has been overpowered, and when Golden Snake traces the source, he finds a statue next to the talisman of the deity, a relic identical to those discovered in the ancient Yuan ruins, where it was said that the ritual objects enslaved minds. At the same time, in the bell tower overlooking Linshu County, Yig studies the moon, noting that its size and brightness are distorting the natural order, and concludes that the anomaly is connected to the incidents of mass sleepwalking reported throughout the city. He sends instructions to his team to move toward the southeastern sector, where the concentration of sleepwalkers is highest, before disappearing to check it out himself. Golden Snake later awakens tied to a tree. His vision slowly clears and he sees Blue Bird tied up beside him. Below, a crowd has gathered. The people stare upward blankly, their mouths open and their bodies trembling. When he shouts, they don't react. Their silence tells him they are no longer conscious, and he realizes that they have completely lost control. A bell chimes through the air. The sound spreads through the forest and the moon above grows larger as its light intensifies until it covers the entire area. Under that light, the villagers begin to move, their limbs trembling. And then they start climbing over one another, forming layers. The moonlight draws them upward, and soon their bodies create a column rising toward the sky. The pillar of wood holding Golden Snake and Blue Bird is lifted with them, raising them both higher as the tower expands. At the Buddha temple, Captain Black Lion grows restless. He hasn't received a signal from any of the agents since their last report. The silence and the recent attack on the Lin Shui base suggest that both events are connected, so he orders the team to move out immediately. But outside, the team stops as soon as they look up. The clouds have vanished. The moon is larger and brighter than before, almost touching the horizon. Our points into the distance, where a silvery beam of light descends from the moon and strikes the ground in Lin Shui County. The light doesn't fade or spread. It remains fixed like a bridge between the sky and the earth. Black Lion studies the beam and realizes this is not a natural event. The destruction of the Lin Shui base may have been part of the same operation that led to this moment. He orders his team to move toward the light. They follow narrow streets until Black Lion senses movement ahead. He lunges forward, attacking with his blade, but before the strike can land, a spinning black umbrella blocks it. The weapon hits the barrier and bounces off with force, leaving a mark on the wall. Black Lion stabilizes himself and recognizes that the umbrella is a high-level tool, not ordinary equipment. A figure emerges from the fog, holding it. Her movement is smooth and deliberate. The air around her stills as she closes the umbrella and stands before them. Black Lion watches her closely. Her appearance and mannerisms confirm she is not a local. The timing and location leave no room for doubt. Across the field, the veteran hunters see through their movements. They realize that the two are stalling for time for reinforcements. Uneasy, they prepare to end it quickly, deciding to kill them in seconds. Su Jiao raises his sword and summons a pillar of ice. He remains alert, waiting for an opening. One of the enemies, a large man, charges toward Lu Yu cruelly. He mocks her beauty, his words dripping with malice. Lu Yu senses his power and prepares herself for impact, but Su Jiao reacts first. She sweeps her hand, forming a path of ice that sends the attacker flying. Then, Lu Yu charges in, furious and fearless, counterattacking. The wall of ice between them begins to crack, slashed again and again by the enemy's blades. The wall shatters with a heavy sound. Su Jiao feels a surge of disbelief at how easily it was broken. She throws smoke grenades from the Empire's arsenal, clouding the vision of the enemy. Through the smoke, she pulls Lu Yu with her as they retreat. She warns her that the opponents are high-level martial artists and too strong to fight head-on. She nods without hesitation, but before they can escape, a faster figure appears, cutting them off. Two short daggers gleam near their throats. The team leader smirks, confident of victory. He grabs them by the necks, but a sudden shift in the air makes him spin around. A blade nearly 100 feet long slams toward him. He dodges on instinct and Jeej appears in view. Calm and cold, he confronts the assassin. The assassin attacks in a blur, his body splitting into 12 forms of shadow. Blades strike from all sides, faster than the eye can follow. For a moment, Jeej looks surprised. Then, everything freezes. Time itself stops. The blades hang in the air, immobilized. Jeej studies the scene, impressed by the technique, but he doesn't need to guess which one is real. He and his allies attack together, shattering the phantom clones. He locates the real assassin, Black Lion, a high-ranking assassin known for surviving everything. His skin is tough enough to resist bullets, but against the time stop, even he is helpless. Jiji concentrates energy in his hand and forms a blood-red arrow. The arrow pierces Black Lion before time resumes. The assassin's instincts scream, too late. His long career ends in an instant. His last thought, a question of how Jeej moved faster than sight. When it's over, Jeej lifts the severed head and begins to absorb the assassin's blood. The corpse withers and dries up, its power merging with his own. His energy skyrockets, pushing him to the 8th stage of martial mastery. The battlefield falls silent. The remaining enemies, Catfish and Ares, stare in disbelief. Killing someone 2 realms above him with sheer strength is beyond reason. They realize something is wrong, terribly wrong, and they prepare to retreat. Ajo looks at the blood pooling on the ground, a twisted smile forming. The blood stirs and releases a dark red aura. From it, a monstrous hand rises, followed by the demonic form of their fallen captain. Catfish and Ares freeze in fear. The aura feels familiar, yet horrifying. The image of their captain rises before them, twisted beyond recognition. They can barely breathe. Before the panic can overwhelm them, Ares steps forward and yells for them to get back. She lifts the small child in her arms and the baby's body changes, swelling rapidly into a massive monster 3 meters tall. The child was never human, but a biological weapon designed for battle. Ares orders it to attack and the creature charges forward with a roar. Ajo watches calmly, his hands in his pockets. Ares and Catfish flee, desperate to escape before he attacks again. But Ajo already has a plan. He orders Suho and Liu Xinju to stay behind with his phantom and destroy the biological weapon. The 3 of them immediately take their positions. Shock analyzes the Phoenix martial technique, fusing the ice wall, the dragon's shadow, and the northern cold sword into one lethal move. Cold energy fills the air, taking the form of a dragon that lunges at the monster. The cold aura forms, a fierce dragon's head that roars as it strikes toward the towering biological weapon. It lets out a monstrous cry and charges, ready to sacrifice itself so its allies can escape. When the searing heat clashes with the freezing cold, the entire alley explodes in mist. Su Jiao grits his teeth and leaps into the air. He brings his sword down with all his might, his blade slashing across the mutant's face. The creature tries to dodge but fails, and a deep gash splits half of its head open. Beneath the torn flesh is no blood or bone, only alloy plates and microchips. It's basically a machine disguised as a man. The giant lunges forward at an impossible speed, forcing Su Jiao back. He grips his sword tightly and barely evades the next blow as the attack misses. In that instant, Black Lion appears from the shadows, moving like a phantom. He splits into 12 blood-red forms, each one wielding a spinning blade. Together they weave a deadly net that descends upon the mutant's head. The creature's body erupts, torn to pieces. Even with its regenerative power, it can't recover from such a brutal attack. As blood and smoke swirl in the air, Liu rises above them. Her massive wings unfold, glowing with an intense purple light that floods the battlefield. She looks almost divine, like a goddess descending to bring judgment. From high above, Liu Xinju gathers her strength. Dark feathers burn around her hands, fading into ash that forms a dense black sphere. The sphere expands until it's 5 meters in diameter, then erupts, transforming into a burning purple sun. Her cry echoes through the night, her power declaring that the enemy cannot escape. The mutant's legs freeze solid, trapped in ice. Black Lion holds it from the front, completely immobilizing it. The explosion shakes the ground and a pillar of purple fire erupts, engulfing the cold moonlight and burning everything in its path. The mutant's screams echo for just a moment before fading into silence. His body is completely consumed until not even ashes remain. The battle ends in a flash of light and the night falls into an eerie silence. Far away, beneath the dark sewer tunnels of the city, Catfish runs through the filthy water, gasping for air. His face is pale, his steps desperate, muttering curses as he flees. Suddenly, a flash of blue light erupts ahead, striking him and freezing him in place. Terror fills his eyes as the light spreads through the darkness, revealing a figure in its glow. Its haunting smile appears from the shadows. Panic floods Catfish as sweat runs down his body. He knows he's being hunted and flees in terror, trying to escape through the labyrinth of tunnels. At the same time, Ares sprints at full speed through the narrow alleys above. A blinding blue beam crashes down from the sky like divine lightning. Her body trembles as she realizes it struck where Catfish had been running. In that instant, she understands the truth. Her captain is dead, and now Catfish has fallen too. She is the only one left standing, alone in the ruined alley. Ares trembles uncontrollably. Her mind scrambles for a way out. She tells herself she can't die here. Desperation fuels her thoughts until a wild idea crosses her mind. Her eyes fall on a strange structure nearby, Lin Xuan's human ladder, a bizarre tower stretching into the sky. Her heart sinks as she realizes it's the work of Tiangu Shanglin. Fear mixes with determination. She bites her nails until they bleed and vows to survive at all costs, even if it means surrendering her soul to the darkness. She runs toward the human ladder, her fear mounting as she gets closer. Bodies piled on top of bodies form a grotesque staircase reaching to the heavens. When Ares finally stands before the structure, a cold chill runs down her spine. From the shadows, Yu appears with a massive blade resting on his shoulder. In his other hand, he carries the severed head of Catfish, blood dripping to the ground. His presence freezes the air around him. Panic seizes Ares, and she scrambles toward the ladder, climbing desperately. She tells herself this is the only way to survive. The climb seems endless, but her hands never stop. When she looks up, she sees a colossal jade gate. It opens slowly. Tears fill her eyes as she recognizes her father. The Pillar of People glows brightly, standing tall in the middle of the city, shining like a beacon in the dark night. The massive gate opens slowly. When Biang finally steps through, a faint, twisted smile forms on Yi's lips. Her body collapses under the moonlight, turning into black smoke that vanishes. It was never really him, just an illusion created by the moonlight to prey on her fear and push her upward. The real Yi watches silently from a distance. His calm gaze is fixed on the glowing pillar. After a moment, he speaks softly, as if he had expected this, noting that Tiu Zhonglin used Biang's fear to construct his image and force her to climb. He takes out his phone, his tone firm, as he reports that the Laser Bird Assassination Squad has lost 2 members and the 3-man team has been neutralized. The remaining ones are barely alive. A dark smile spreads across his face, his eyes glowing blue with satisfaction and anticipation. He predicts that by tomorrow, Tiang, Guyang Lin's men will arrive, and with Laser Bird losing its base, another faction will fall. The night fades, the moonlight weakens, and the glowing human ladder disappears. At dawn, the giant moon retreats, and the last ray of light dies out. The people of Linzue County, whose bodies had been used to form the ladder, return to the ground. Some are dead, others alive, and some walk as if nothing happened, their faces serene and their eyes closed. However, their life force has been drained, leaving them as empty husks who return home in silence. With the cold morning breeze sweeping across the rooftops, Jihei Suha and Lu Qingyu watch from afar. Qingyu's voice holds a note of doubt as she questions the strange mission. Jige offers a calm smile, his eyes still on the crowd below, and says he has a plan. He adds that they are not alone, mentioning a capable ally working in secret. Suja hesitates, his expression tensing as he considers the possibility. He believes Jige must come from a powerful background, either the hidden aura of a great figure or a young master sent to train among mortals. If that's true, the hidden ally could be a secret guardian. Before he can think further, Jige's aura erupts, filling the air with dark energy as his voice resounds, calling them both to action. A dark mist spreads across the ground, twisting into illusions that creep through the alleys and over the rooftops like spirits being set free. In the midst of it all, Jiju orders them to destroy every clay statue in the city. Suja moves instantly, merging with the ghostly swarm. Lu Qingyu remains unsure, her eyes fixed on Jige. Noticing her hesitation, he calls out her name, and she startles slightly before offering a small, confident smile. She tells him to trust his team more, not to carry everything alone. Jige turns and walks toward the hidden base beneath the Yinshan temple. Inside, the mad scientist greets him with deep respect. Jige cuts him off coldly, ordering him to prepare for battle. He enters a dark pit, filled with piles of failed biochemical bodies. The doctor explains that all the defeated artificial beings have been gathered here. Our boy knows this, pleased with the number, and shouts with great power. His body erupts in dense black smoke as a giant skull forms behind him, glowing with energy. He suppresses the lightning within it so as not to harm the nearby bodies. From the smoke, a massive figure begins to take shape, opening its chest to reveal a huge, beating heart. Blood gushes out, pouring into the pit and soaking the inert bodies. Their eyes flicker to life as their flesh begins to heal. Jiji watches as they transform into a resurrected army. His eyes glow red, filled with fury and power. He orders the doctor to use the vampire virus to awaken them and enhance their strength. Each one will be able to transform into an immortal giant soldier bound to his will. The doctor works quickly, controlling a swarm of tiny mechanical mosquitoes carrying vampire blood. They disperse toward Linzhu County, entering every home. Jige smiles smugly, saying that the heat they bring is his. Then, he orders the doctor to restore the great Buddha mechanical armor, even if only partially, to make it usable again. The doctor laughs and accepts without hesitation. Satisfied, Yig raises his hand with a cold smile and says that everything on his side is going according to plan. Now he wants to see how Tiu Changlin will respond. Meanwhile, another force moves toward Lin Shuai County. A convoy speeds down the road, marked with the emblem of Tiangu Changlin, the ancient sect that emerged when the secret realms opened. Its leader, a mysterious pope, gained immense power from those ruins in the past. He used the divine embryo artifact, a dark relic that consumes body and soul, to turn his cult into a growing empire. Their belief is that the divine embryo will become a vessel for the divine and guide humanity to a false salvation. The cold voice of the bishop resonates, saying that this land will soon belong to their faith. As the vehicles cross the fertile plains, his eyes burn with greed and conviction. These cultists may lack refined martial skill, but their dark methods are unmatched. They believe that through sacrifice and blood, the divine embryo will awaken and the divine kingdom will descend upon the mortal world. The fearsome moment is fast approaching. Inside, a bishop speaks solemnly about the land before them, where their great patriarch unleashed a divine calamity 4 years ago. An assistant bishop, wearing a red robe and overcome with emotion, replies that the patriarch dedicated everything to the divine church before being murdered by the fool Longu. He died without ever seeing the calamity he created take form. Another assistant bows his head, lamenting that such a faithful and pure man couldn't even have a single bone left in the end, calling it a cruel injustice. The bishop in the lead grits his teeth, his eyes burning with fury, vowing that the patriarch's sacrifice will not be in vain and that the world must not remain in the hands of fools who are dragging it to ruin. His rage builds until he screams wildly, filling the cabin with his voice. The followers around him tremble and shout in unison that the gods are descending and salvation is near. Their frenzy builds as they chant with wide and vacant eyes, repeating that heaven will come to earth and that they must fight for their god. The following night, the moon hangs high with an unsettling light. 2 dark holes stare down like a demon's eyes. Smoke curls around it and the cracks beneath it form a twisted smile. When the convoy arrives at the edge of the human ladder in Linshui County, the bishop steps out, his excitement overflowing. He speaks to himself about continuing the divine legacy, proudly removing his hood. Grinning widely, he recalls that only two divine beings had been successfully born before. Each one caused global chaos with storms, tsunamis, and eruptions that annihilated millions. He recalls the second descent on the Australian continent, where everything vanished into a sea of fog and became known as the Dark Forest Sea, forbidden forevermore. He raises his frail hand and cuts his palm, letting the blood drip onto an enormous demonic stone. The blood reacts violently, and waves of dark energy spread outward, forming a massive circle around him. The bishop murmurs that his cult will now welcoming a third god. His followers begin to chant, and the ground transforms into a fiery ritual field. When the preparation is complete, he ascends the human staircase with his eyes fixed on the bright moon, whispering blood spells as he steps on the motionless bodies below. He finally reaches a massive, closed gate and bows deeply. His blood-covered hand touches a corpse at his feet and strands of red energy crawl across the ground. He smiles and offers his blood to the dark power before him. As the gate opens, a blinding white light bursts forth and a voice from the depths commands him to advance. He obeys without hesitation, walking slowly through the light until he reaches a silver altar holding a platinum coffin carved with sacred symbols. His eyes fixate on it as he murmurs in awe. Inside lies the plague god, sealed there years ago after draining the life from the people of Lingsu County. Now, the time for awakening has come. The believers chant faster and louder as blood drips from their hands, filling the air with a heavy scent. The bishop raises his voice and declares that the time to welcome their deity has arrived. The air vibrates as a powerful energy descends. The cult leader himself appears, slowly descending the human steps, carrying the platinum coffin as if it were a sacred burden. The followers scream with devotion as he places the coffin in the center of the ritual circle. Standing tall, he raises his arms to the bright moon and asks for its power to descend upon him. When the clock in Linhui County strikes midnight, the sound of 3 bells echoes throughout the land. The name Yuyan resounds like thunder in the air and the entire county trembles. Souls begin to rise from the bodies of every resident, glowing a pale white as they float upward like a swarm of lights. Their bodies lifelessly collapse, empty of vitality. The souls gather into dense clouds, forming a vast stream that rushes toward the divine light. Then, a deafening roar shakes the sky, filling every mind with pure power. Half of the glowing souls suddenly turn blue as if their purity has been corrupted. They spin and rush directly toward the bishop. Panic crosses his face as he trembles, realizing that the ritual has been corrupted. He mutters that the souls have been defiled by the strange roar and that someone is interfering. Still, the ritual cannot be stopped and the corrupted spirits pour into the platinum coffin like a raging tide. The bishop screams in frustration as the impure energy contaminates the god they have tried to awaken. In that instant, a dark figure appears by his side. It's JG, standing with a cold, sharp smile. He says he has been waiting for this moment all along. The bishop turns in shock, his mind blank, unable to comprehend what is happening. JG's eyes flash with lightning as a powerful aura fills the space around him. His weapon roars, glowing red as faint symbols pulse along its edge. A brilliant slash cuts through the air, slicing the bishop's throat in an instant. Yi charges forward, his blade sweeping through the air in 3 swift strikes that mix blood and light. The power of his attack distorts the world itself as if time is splitting apart. Bishop collapses before he can utter his last word. The dark energy around Jiha burns with such ferocity that even the shadows recoil. He tilts his head slightly. A faint smile forms as he says with calm finality that what stands before him now is a demon. The pastor gasps. Blood pours from his mouth as his body trembles between life and death. He tries to speak a few last words, but can barely speak. Jiha frowns, annoyed that the man is still alive, and swings his blade once more, and the blow cuts cleanly. Standing over the body, he shakes his head, muttering that his opponent was too weak. It was then that a calm voice calls out to him from the shadows. Jiha spins around, realizing he killed the wrong man. The real bishop steps forward, calm and composed, removing his hood. His bald head shines under the moonlight. He introduces himself as Lin Qi, the supreme leader of the divine church of the Xia kingdom. He casually mentions that the man Jiha just struck down was only his deputy. He chuckles lightly, explaining that, in his line of work, it's smart to use stand-ins. Jiha furiously grips his blade and without another word, charges forward, striking fast and hard. Lin Qi raises a hand, blocking the attack with an unsettling calm. Black energy erupts from his palm, forming dark chains that wrap around Jiha like steel wires, immobilizing him. The chains tighten until he feels every bone in his body being crushed. Gritting his teeth, Jiha breaks free by summoning his power. A massive, rose-shaped spirit appears behind him, radiating a violent energy that tears through the darkness. For the first time, Lin Chi looks surprised, staring intently at the spirit behind Jiha. He asks if Jiha also practices divine arts, but blue lightning is already crackling from Jiha's hands, filling the air with light. He scoffs, saying he just wants to end this fight and leave this cursed place. Thunder explodes around him. His body tenses with raw power as he strikes forward. The lightning transforms into a dragon that smashes directly into Lin Chi. The impact shakes the ground, and Lin Chi is sent flying through rubble and smoke. When the dust settles, Lin Chi is still standing. His body is battered, but a dark energy writhes around him, mending his broken arm. He raises his head, calm and arrogant, declaring himself blessed by the gods. Jiha narrows his eyes, muttering that this fight is going to be a pain. Lin Chi begins to chant in a low voice. With each phrase, the cultists around him gather again, surrounding Jiha. Their eyes are wild, their expressions blank. Without hesitation, they raise their blades and stab themselves. Blood splatters on the ground. The air grows thick with the smell of iron. Jiha watches, calling it a pathetic display. But before he can move, he feels something cold creeping through the air. A sound echoes around him like cracking wood. Then, a bloody hand bursts through the chest of one of the cultists. Skin tears as a twisted creature crawls out, neither human nor demon, something worse. One by one, the dead bodies split open, releasing more of these creatures. Their horns curve like hooks and their teeth glint like blades. They crawl forward, leaving trails of blood. As the ritual completes, he remains unfazed, smirking smugly and coldly, muttering that these so-called gods are nothing more than monsters pretending to be divine. Yiji raises a hand to cover half his face, watching with calm. He scoffs at the cultists for offering their bodies to summon demons without a second thought, letting out a short laugh. The summoned creatures reveal their true twisted and bloodthirsty forms, locking onto him. A blue lightning erupts in the sky, weaving into streams. As Yiji announces he is unleashing his own forces, the small lizards transform into massive giants over 10 meters tall, roaring as they advance toward him. The demons charge, but Yiji's giants instantly crush them, turning their bodies into pulp before they can even attack. More giants flood the battlefield, their footsteps making the ground tremble. The red-robed deputy bishop trembles as he watches. The church leader is dead, and now countless giants are appearing. He tries to use spiritual vision to locate the leader, but only sees him standing there. He is next to the coffin, targeting Tai. Despite shouting orders, nothing can reach him. Meanwhile, Liu Qinju and Suho descend from the sky in their awakened states, confronting the deputy bishop. The pastor realizes that they had planned everything in advance, assassinating the cult leader, deploying the giant army, and intercepting him. And he understands the cult's mission is doomed. As cold air radiates from the coffin, he notes the entity inside holds a grudge for the position it lost. The system reports that Yiji has gained 5 points of special divine energy as part of the ritual's accumulated faith, partially absorbed by Emotai to create a body for no jump. Yiji laughs at the revelation, approaches and disdainfully opens the coffin, only to find it empty, save for a luxurious interior. Confused and annoyed, he shouts, wondering why the deity is hiding. He summons his great blade, planting it firmly in the ground, and silence falls over the battlefield. The chaos of giants, demons, and fighting fades away, as if the world now revolves only around him. Then, a voice reaches him, and he turns to see a giant moon with a sinister smile and Archbishop Lin Chi approaching, revealing that the moon and the space were an illusion. Yiji recognizes him, narrowing his eyes as Lin Chi taunts him, asking if he knows when he fell into the dream. Elsewhere, Liu Qinju and Suho continue to fight the giant demon that the bishop deputy summoned. The deputy bishop, realizing Yiji is alone, grows restless, pulling out a jade-green blade and channels a deadly spell intending to crush Yiji with a barrage of blood thorns, while taking advantage of Liu Qinju and Suho's focus on him. He lunges forward, shouting that the guilty will be punished by the gods. Suho notices the bishop heading for Yiji and reacts instantly, channeling all his strength, forming a massive tornado of ice and wind, compressing it into a storm blade capable of crushing mountains. He uses almost all his energy to hold back the giant, urging his comrades to act without hesitation. Liu Qinju spreads his wings, soaring over the ice wall and responding firmly. The demon brandishes its flaming battle axe, shattering Sujo's ice barrier instantly, shaking the battlefield. Sujo responds by sending sharp ice spikes that pierce the demon's steel-like skin, tearing it apart. Dark energy swirls around him as he raises a hand announcing he is channeling the power of the ancient Wadu clan. Sujo's body fills with energy from an ancient clan he once sealed, regenerating his wounds. His dragon horns grow, frost covers his reborn flesh, and his dragon eyes burn. He channels the secret flame blood technique along with his bloodline, risking faster life consumption for maximum power. His hands rise, gathering martial energy into a massive frozen greatsword tens of meters long, which shakes the very space around it. He attacks with all his might, seeking to destroy the demon before him. The creature braces itself, trying to unleash a massive flame, but Suju's attack overwhelms it. Ice and fire clash, spreading across the battlefield and shaking the surroundings. Despite the full force of Suju's storm blade, the monster absorbs the energy with its own flames. The ice melts and fractures, leaving him exposed and exhausted. Just as he begins to falter, a sharp projectile pierces the demon from behind, inflicting critical damage and finishing it off. Sujo collapses from exhaustion, barely able to breathe. He looks toward his unexpected ally, Dr. Dan, who fired the projectiles, realizing Hyde's extraordinary potential that he had underestimated. Dr. Dan notices Suho's advancement to the martial disciple level, while Liu Qingju demonstrates equal talent, both carrying the promise of the team chosen by the master. A swarm of drones appears, heading towards Sujo, while the deputy bishop tries to flee. The bishop notices the young man's strength and disguises his interrogation about their identities. As Sujo and Liu Qingju advance confidently, Luju spreads his wings, soaring over the battlefield, while Suju carries the head of the slain demon, his steps and presence drawing attention. The lunar deity intervenes, dropping 6 massive coffins containing undead martial artists. The coffins hit the ground and open, revealing identical undead figures that exude martial-level energy. Some are familiar faces from the university's second team, now turned into controlled corpses. The vice bishop becomes frantic, realizing the threat they pose to his divine fetus. The undead begin to advance, and Dr. Dan orders his Titan squad to intercept them, buying time for Liu Qingju. The Titans are strong, but fragile compared to the martial-level zombies that tear them apart effortlessly. Liu Qingju seizes the moment to fly toward YG. She pushes against the wind, suffering injuries but refusing to fall, driven solely by the need to reach him. The vice bishop enters a panic, redirecting his forces to stop her, but she breaks through, evading attacks and finally reaching YG. Exhausted, she collapses into his arms, finding refuge. Her body trembles with fatigue, but her spirit stabilizes as she leans on him. A moment of calm amidst the chaos of the battlefield. After destroying the thorns, covered in blood, Lu Yingyu tightly hugs Yi Ge, enduring the pain from her wounded arm. She burns a small amount of her energy internally to counteract the poisonous blood and keeps moving forward. From above, she sees the giant mutants created by Yi Ji, now in pools of blood, trampled and annihilated. Among them, 6 bodies stir, their eyes open with predatory intent, sending a chilling aura toward her. Recognizing the danger, she tries to resist the overwhelming presence pressing on her mind, refusing to surrender and spreading her wings to create a shockwave of resistance. The force strikes her physically and mentally, assaulting her spirit and causing her intense pain, but she clings to Yi Ge, determined to protect him. Her strength fades as she falls into darkness, still holding onto Yi Ge as they descend. Below, 6 monstrous figures wait with twisted, elongated necks and heads with spikes to impale them. Just before impact, Yi Ji awakens, freezing time and stopping the spikes. Quinzura regains consciousness, leaning on Yi Ji's shoulder. He reassures her, and she relaxes, letting herself fall completely into his embrace, exhausted but safe. The enraged deputy bishop tries to act, ordering 7 martial masters to attack. Yi Ji silently channels his power, teleporting Quinzura to safety while he alone faces the remaining threats. In his Titan form, he crushes the martial-level undead, moving with an overwhelming force, leaving a trail of destruction. The vice bishop experiences hallucinations of repeated death, driven to despair as Yi Ji's presence dominates the battlefield. His mind and body break under the pressure, leaving him weak and terrified. Yi Ji continues his imposing assault as a Titan, annihilating all the martial-level enemies with crushing blows. Below, the battlefield is a wasteland of flesh and blood, as his power leaves no room for opposition. Suddenly, the moonlight intensifies, revealing a new figure descending from above. This supreme leader, shrouded in silver moonlight, stands motionless, emanating a terrifying and divine aura. His hair is long and white, his features are cold and sharp, and his gaze meets Yi Ji's. He has an unshakable presence that conveys both recognition and dominance. Though he shows no fluctuations of ki, his aura radiates absolute power, suggesting he is the source of all the mutations and the chaos in Lingwei County. Yi Ge recognizes the threat but faces it with defiance, prepared to challenge the figure under the distorted moon. Understanding that this encounter could define the outcome of the conflict, a mysterious deity emerges from the moon and appears to be the lunar deity. Yi Ji rises through a void where the city has disappeared, replaced by a silver light, as if he were standing on the moon. The air changes, and although he feels cold, he realizes this is a mental realm not subject to physical laws. Unlike with illusions, the damage here is real, and he lacks his invincible golden body. The silver moon deity reaches the final step, floating above like a god. He acknowledges Yi Ji's exceptional talent and states that part of his divine essence has been stolen, turning Yi Gi into a potential vessel. The Silver Moon deity promises to elevate Yi Gi from mortal to a god, offering a partnership to rule together. And Jig refuses, maintaining his disdain, declaring that gods exploit the weak and resort to threats when stripped of their true power. The Silver Moon deity remains serene, explaining that even a minimal affinity with a mortal is enough to destroy him. It unleashes a surge of black and silver energy, trapping Jig's body and soul in a silver light. Jig feels the vast gap between God and man, as his supergiant body shatters, leaving only a skeletal form suspended in the void. Despite the assault, Jig's consciousness remains. It survives, protected by a talisman that controls his spiritual essence. He anticipated the god's attack by setting a trap, using the resurrection energy of the Vampire Queen. The Silver Moon deity realizes it cannot touch Jig's soul, enraged as the mental realm cracks apart. A colossal blade descends from above, slicing through the void, and the realm collapses. From the breach emerges the division chief, Longqui, the Azure Dragon National Grandmaster, wrapped in white bandages with his blue hair flowing, wielding a great, shining sword. Jig watches in silence, satisfied that his plan is succeeding and the divine power he sought can now be taken. The Silver Moon deity is shocked, questioning if a human can possess such strength. The Grandmaster examines Jig, noting his chaotic energy and impure form, comparing him to the first demonic hybrid. The Silver Moon deity attacks, attempting to seize Jig, but the attack fails and it is thrown far away. Only the Silver Moon deity and the Grandmaster remain, facing each other. The Grandmaster gathers divine consciousness, channeling overwhelming power. As he descends, the Silver Moon deity prepares, expanding the moonlight and flooding Linsui County. The combined energies crack space, manifesting as a dragon in the sky. The Grandmaster charges toward the Pillar of Moonlight, ready to confront the divine entity and restore balance. Elsewhere, the sky and earth churn as light and thunder intertwine. Jig is thrown across mountains by the Moon deity, landing far from Linsui County, wrapped in a protect. The forest is devastated, trees destroyed by the impact, and Jig emerges, pale but alive. He scans the area and finds no trace of the county, realizing the battle likely wiped out the region. As Jig contemplates, the system panel appears, displaying a moon seal curse mark linked to the Master of the Moon and Nightmares. He understands the danger, but also sees an opportunity. He studies the system interface, identifying divine attributes and their effects, particularly those related to the moon and dreams. He begins to assign points, enhancing his skills and templates, including the vampiric bloodline, the demon moon bloodline, and powers that are enhanced under the moonlight. Each upgrade amplifies his combat potential, transforming him into a god of war under the full moon, while remaining relatively inactive during the day. Jig tests his strength, striking with an explosive force that carves up the ground and scatters the wildlife. He observes his muscles, enhanced reflexes, and nervous system processing speed, recognizing the full effect of his lunar curse. He notes that he is a key figure in the unfolding events and anticipates the interest of the Dragon's Claw. He plans to contact Jua University for support, recognizing the importance of allies and resources. He activates bat wings and departs. At Hua University, it seems peaceful. Jiho meets with the director Shi Wai, Jingwen, who welcomes him and praises the squad for completing the mission in Lingqiu County. The director assures him that the mission will be publicly presented as Level 4 to avoid shocking others, while internally, the squad receives Level 5 rewards. Jiho knows this on the surface, but suspects the director might know about his manipulations. Later, Jiho reviews footage of the disaster in Lingqiu County sent by Dr. Atman, confirming that a massive explosion has destroyed the area and left few survivors. He remembers the words of the lunar deity about the moon's attack and feels the gravity of the high-level martial arts threats. Jiho reflects on the need for caution, remembering that the Grandmaster can help seal the lunar mark curse. While he waits, the Grandmaster arrives gravely injured, his bandaged body radiating a heavy aura, revealing the cost of the battle and signaling the ongoing danger in the martial world. In the reception room, Azure admits his injuries, the frostbite damage he suffered from fighting the lunar demon. Despite his injuries, he achieved victory. As he speaks, our friend laughs softly, finding it unexpectedly adorable that the normally stoic Azure Dragon is explaining himself. Then, Azure Dragon removes his cloak and begins to help our guy seal the gaze. Since Director Shi had already spoken to him about our guy's condition, he decides to reveal some classified secrets. He reveals that monsters used to be as intelligent as humans. He casually mentions that he was the only survivor of a Class A ruin excavation, but he didn't escape unscathed. He was cursed. The curse mutated his body and slowly eroded his sanity, turning him into a beast. With no one who could help, he chose to enter a Class S realm, planning to die alone. What he didn't see coming was a massive sea storm that forcibly took him to an uncharted island where no human had ever been before. He stops his amazing story, as the rest is too dangerous to reveal. As he removes his bandages, strange scars and glowing runes cover his body. He admits that an unknown entity on that island stopped his bestialization. When our protagonist sees the runes, a hellish vision grips him, his body trembling and blood dripping from his eyes. But Azure Dragon finds it strange, because even a martial artist would suffer extreme brain damage with just a glimpse of his runes. However, our protagonist only bled a little. He hopes that EA can change the situation, as the director has never been wrong in his judgments. He then imprints 2 runes on his mind so he can sleep well. The system shows that one can encounter the Master of the Moon in nightmares under the moonlight or in dreams. After finishing print, Yiji thanks him and confirms if his teacher is Gonka. He makes it clear that he has no problem with her. He mentioned her only because she was once destined to become a legendary martial artist before her brain injury cut that path short. Then, Azure wonders if they could train, and our friend isn't one to hold back. He accepts, but under the moonlight. Next, the opponents stand in an arena. Azure Dragon urges him to attack first, saying he will only defend himself using one hand, using only his physical power. His challenge is to move him at least half a step. If he succeeds, he'll win 1 free request for his help. The second prize is a direct assignment to the 1st Department of the Long Quay Division. The fight begins, and our boy unleashes his glowing aura. Azure Dragon is a bit surprised to see that, because it's somewhat similar to the Moon Demon. He hesitates, but at that moment our boy lands his first blow. Azure Dragon shudders as he feels a dense killing intent. Gonka watches from somewhere, unable to figure out how our boy could develop such a murderous intent in just 3 days away. In a hotel elsewhere, Sword Manor is with a girl who wonders what distracted him from her in bed. He admits that he felt a heavy killing aura. He's sure the university campus also felt its surge, though he dismissed it as mere showing off. The attack annihilates the entire area around Azure Dragon, but what our boy notices is that Azure's punch is actually simplified compared to his 3 swords. Yigi realizes that Azure deliberately avoided exploiting his weak points. Instead, the dragon chose to face him head-on, power against power, as if openly challenging him. The thought makes Yi's heart race. It feels raw, almost confrontational. While he's lost in thought, Azure Dragon prepares to throw another punch, a military fist. The impact is swift and brutal, sending our boy flying through the air. Azure realizes he's done for if he lets Yigi die and rushes to catch him before he hits the ground. When he catches our boy, he wakes up grinning that he won, since Azure moved more than 1 step. He tricked him, and Azure can't help but admire his sharp thinking ability, so he asks what he wants, to which he decides to keep the promise pending. Then, Azure admires his killing intent, but urges him to train his body more to better utilize it. Nervously, our boy admits that he hasn't yet used the Demon Emperor template. Azure sticks to his guns. Our hero needs a physically strong master to serve as his guide. Yigi agrees to look for a master, but Azure secretly wants to take on that role himself. He's torn between asking to make Yigi his disciple or waiting for our hero to come to him. Then he hands him a badge containing a high-level body cultivation technique. It's considered a martial art at the level of a national treasure from a Western country. He gives it to him so that Yigi can master it soon, staying determined in his practice and studies. Azure Dragon knows this technique is difficult to cultivate, and the reason is that this martial spirit space from the West doesn't recognize Easterners. That's why he has to wait until he reaches the Grand Realm of Master and will obtain the martial spirit space by force and get the inheritance. Since the technique is difficult, Jiha will come to him on his own, and that's how he'll be able to make him his disciple. Later, in Jiha's dorm room, our boy showers while thinking that he has barely spent any time in his room. While looking at martial arts techniques, someone knocks on his door. When he opens the door, he finds Yang Se standing outside. Jiha lets him in, hoping he's not there to recruit him into his club again. Suddenly, Yang Se falls to his knees, begging the protagonist to become the president of the Dragon's Blood Club. Jiha wonders, since when did this guy become such a loser? But he can't get the thought out of his head. How did he know that Jiha had returned to the dorm? Yang Se admits that some guy saw him return, and that enrages our friend, dragging Yang Se off to practice. A while later, he is seen with a swollen face. The hero asks what's been going on with the club, and the guy admits that the club is failing, and that unless they make an exceptional contribution, the university will cut their funding. The Dragon's Blood Club started out quite well, getting sponsorships, which attracted many students to join. The beginning was virtuous, until it was suppressed by the student union, made up of local people from Jua City. It all happened because of Shang's leadership. Investors pulled out, the commercial value decreased, and the company's welfare channels were closed. Seeing the club fail, members began to leave, which made it difficult to recruit new ones. Now the Dragon's Blood Club is in crisis. Jiha realizes that the club lost Shang, and everything started to fall apart after that. To suppress Shang Chang, instead of relying on the seniors, They need someone from their own grade, and the only person who meets all the requirements is Jiha. Our boy accepts, although he knows that Ouyang Sai's real intention is for him to protect the Dragon's Blood Club's assets, so he urges Ouyang Sai to get straight to the point. Ouyang Sai explains the Daxia Recovery Plan, a national operation that seeks to gather martial artists from all over the country to reclaim the 12 cities and surrounding regions completely overrun by monsters. He adds that other universities will also participate, with their own school taking the lead. Under Jiha's guidance, the Dragon's Blood Club will follow the official orders. However, Jiha's immediate concern is removing the surveillance cameras, and Ouyang Sai obeys without hesitation. As Ouyang Sai leaves, Jiha realizes how much he has helped and also notes that he has great business skills. With his help, he can really make the club grow, raising the prize template for the future. He then decides to master both martial arts templates. On the other hand, Shin Chen calls Jan by his name, wondering what's taking Ouyang Sai so long. Jan feels deeply offended, but also a little worried because Shin Chen is extremely provocative. Jan still informs them that the vice president and the real president will be here soon. Hearing that, Shin Chen worries if Jiha is the president he's talking about. He urges Jan to let it go because he believes Ouyang Sai has no chance of recovering. Against January, retreating is the most sensible option they have right now. The girl on the side also agrees with Shin Chen. Jan wonders what they plan to do. Quickly, Shin Chen mentions the Zhou family and its eldest son. Zhou Kai has promised them a good life, so he finds this option better than waiting for Jan to liquidate the club. The other members start to agree with him. Indeed, he won't show up. It turns out the people who agree with him are actors who were heavily bribed beforehand. A guy with curly hair enters. It's Kai, who wonders why Shin Shan is taking so long to deal with January. When Jan sees him, he shouts furiously, "How did you manage to get in?" Kai simply replies that they forced their way in and that he will take care of, fully compensating for the losses he has caused. Hearing this, Jan is about to hit Kai with a powerful punch, but a woman stops him. He soon realizes that the woman is no ordinary woman. Then, the mop-headed guy, Kai, orders the club to beat up Jan for his loyalty to the club. According to him, he's useless if he can't follow orders. As the others move in to attack, Yeeg suddenly appears, having rushed over after hearing the commotion from the floor below. In one swift move, he grabs Kai by his curly hair and yanks him back. Then, with astonishing strength, he throws Kai and the woman out the window. After throwing out Kai and his assistant, he turns to the people behind him. One of them stammers, begging for another chance while admitting he was blinded by greed. He knows that if he's also kicked out of Dragon's Blood, there will be no place for him in the Jewish City group. Wu Yang steps forward and informs them that they won't be expelled, but their actions will be kept under strict surveillance. They are also suspended from all activities of the Dragon's Blood Club for the week. Our hero glares angrily at the officers, and they accept their punishment. Later, the main officials sit down to discuss the club's financial and investment problems. Wu Yang suggests that Daxia's recovery could put them in the spotlight, but our boy proposes a more direct solution: to defeat the threat of the Sangwon Club. To his disappointment, Wu Yang informs him that Chang Chuan has gone into seclusion to reach the Martial Master realm. This news makes him frown, but he quickly comes up with another plan. If he challenges the top experts from the entire university, he can attract more hype and, in turn, more investment. He then asks about the Lankwai First Division. Jan explains that it is the strongest martial organization in Daxia. Members of other Lianu divisions are known as Lankwai agents, while the members of the First Division are called aces. His determination shows how much he wants to join it. Jan admits that the First Division is only for the strongest. Each year, fewer than 3 Imperial graduates are admitted, making it a coveted place for all martial artists. This gives our boy an idea. He orders the Dragon's Blood Club's media team to start spreading the word. He stands up and announces that as the president of the Dragon's Blood Club and a current ace of the Lankwai First Division, he is issuing a challenge to all martial artists below the rank of Grand Martial Master at Jue University. He turns to the officials wondering if the hype is enough. He can't believe it anymore, considering our boy hasn't even graduated. Jij explains that he was recruited directly and didn't need to take any tests. Wu wonders if he's joking, but our guy clarifies that he received the position the night before and that the documents will arrive in 2 days. He thinks to himself that ordinary martial masters can be crushed easily, but the talented ones might require some effort. If our hero wants to fight a Grand Martial Master, he would have to use his time stop ability, but that relies on the element of surprise, and showing them off just for investment isn't a smart move. Su quickly contacts the media team, and soon, the news spreads everywhere. Nobody really knows our guy, so the gossip runs rampant. Many label him as arrogant for being a rookie who challenges others. When the news spreads that he joined the First Division without taking any entrance exams, people start to wonder if the officials were simply captivated by his smile. After all, 99% of applicants fail. Most of the students are convinced he used shady methods to become an ace. Meanwhile, the media campaign goes wild, dividing people into factions. Some believe he's just a show-off, while others think he actually has the talent to be appointed directly without a test. His live stream attracts massive attention, skyrocketing the club's popularity and the flow of investments. From a hospital room, the beaten-up K watches the news, thinking this challenge is a death trap. Still, he's excited. There's a chance his rival will be killed. Finally, the day of the challenge arrives. Our hero makes a grand entrance from a helicopter, leaving the crowd mesmerized. The crowd goes wild as Jeej stands in the center of the ring, silently accepting both the cheers and the criticism. Calmly, our guy waits for the first opponent. On the side, Long-to realizes that this rookie knows how to promote himself. The man next to this long-faced guy wonders aloud if he will go up. That Long-to guy crosses his arms, ready to ride this wave of exposure. Rushing towards the MC, Long-to thinks to himself that as an internet celebrity, there's no way he can miss the chance to capitalize on this massive traffic. Besides, he believes the first challenger never loses, so if he wins, he'll be famous overnight. Additionally, even if he loses and someone else beats Jig, he plans to step in later and claim that he was the one who wore our guy out. Thinking all this, Long-to steps forward. His body is covered in smoke as he shouts and announces that he is a martial master of the second Dan. The whole arena shook as they came face to face, but the fight didn't even last 10 seconds, as this loudmouth was knocked out by a single kick to the face while jumping to attack our guy. Just then, from behind, La Jing soars high into the air and lunges toward our guy, ready with her weapon to attack him. Everyone recognized her immediately. She's only a 5th Dan martial master, and she has a record of defeating 3 7th Dan students all by herself. Her presence here is a bit strange, since she's a prominent figure throughout the entire second year. So everyone is wondering if she's even a match for G. Whatever the case, at least she's stronger and more skilled than that so-called influencer Long Tao. As the tip of Yao Ling's spear descended, our boy concentrated the energy in his palm. Before striking her, G lets her know that the purity of her blade is too low. With that, the energy summoned by our boy literally splits the spear in two. Just like that, the rest of the opponents rush G all at once, who declares that he's quite busy and has to finish this quickly. Seeing his arrogance, the opponents charge forward, but with precise and skilled movements, the protagonist handles them all. Some were left seriously injured, while others were sent flying the moment they got close. At the hospital, Jokai trembles seeing all of this. He doesn't understand who to send for revenge, because at this rate, everyone will end up admitted to the hospital. Perhaps his older brother, Joe Junting, can handle this very efficiently, but he's a hardhead who only acknowledges reason, so he won't do anything to protect his little brother. However, just then, this guy smirks maliciously as an idea pops into his head. Back on the battlefield, the guys lying on the ground, all injured, are embarrassed. Knowing this will be a highlight on the school's pillar of shame, and every time someone mentions G, they will all be reminded of this humiliation. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the arena, and the entire audience went wild because Junting had stepped in. An expert 9th Dan martial master who was in seclusion had arrived here. This guy isn't just any martial master. Since he has recultivated his perfection realm, he can even fight and defeat ordinary grand martial masters. Everyone is excited, as Joe Junting inherited the powerful solar flare bloodline from his family. It's so strong that he once couldn't control it and would catch on fire, so the family gave him a special suit and training to keep it stable. Stepping forward, the guy very respectfully acknowledges that his brother caused trouble for G's association, so his family will compensate for all the losses. The protagonist could easily tell that Junting isn't here for revenge and doesn't even seem like a belligerent person, so his arrival here doesn't make much sense. This guy admits that he is indeed not here for revenge for his little brother, but for the reputation of the Zhou family. He understands that the little brother was at fault, but for G to insult Junting's family is unacceptable. Hearing this, G scoffs, realizing that fools will always add their own spin and slander. However, this guy demands that our boy kneel and apologize. That said, the MC challenges this guy to make him apologize if he really has the skill. The next moment, their fists meet and an explosion of energy resonates as light envelops them, the entire area. They both unleash powerful punches. Their equal strength makes everything and everyone tremble. Janting roars with rage as he throws his full force into a frontal charge, while our boy calmly counters. At this moment, Yin notices that his enemy's nano battle suit has retracted and the temperature is suddenly rising. The entire crowd understands that this is the power of the solar flare bloodline and that Yig is literally doomed. The entire crowd's eyes are fixed on the fight between Yig and Jing. They are both equally strong, which makes the atmosphere incredibly tense, since they're on a completely different level than Long Tu and Yao Ling. The floor of the arena has split open as two streams of energy, one nuclear and the other of fire, clash against each other. Upon witnessing this, Everyone understands why Janting is no joke, as he's the only one holding his own against Yeeg. At this moment, our boy unleashes an unexpected move by transforming into his monster template form, which distracts Jantin. Seizing this opportunity, Yiga throws a powerful punch that sends Jantin flying. Seeing this, even the young children are cheering for their favorite warriors. Gasping for breath and wounded, Jantin wonders how Long Tu recruited someone like this, as he finds our MC's fighting style barbaric. For a brief moment, he freezes, questioning his own senses as he realizes Yeeg is growing. Yeeg, standing calmly, suggests his enemy should be more confident, because he is, in fact, getting bigger. Instead of releasing the humanoid power all at once to form an external body, he's using the superior vampiric control over his own flesh and blood to slowly release the humanoid power from within his body. In that instant, he transforms into a gigantic form and throws a massive fist that smashes into Jantain. By using this technique, he has gained immense speed and nerve reaction capabilities. Furthermore, his physical attributes increase several times over each second. The earth-shattering punch leaves Jantain unable to defend himself, brutally forced against the splitting arena floor. This power makes Jantain realize this guy is just too terrifying. He always thought his own bloodline was monstrous, but compared to Yeej, it's nothing. Jantain's bones can literally no longer withstand our boy's power, and it seems he'll need to cultivate all over again. However, right now, he needs to get out of this situation. He dodges the powerful punch, leaps into the air, and changes tactics, relying on speed instead of strength. But Yeej won't let him get away and turns toward his opponent. At this rate, Jantain is furious. His body immediately tenses as a solar flare erupts and envelops his entire body. Witnessing this, everyone starts screaming with excitement, as this thermal energy is literally changing the entire atmosphere. This move from Jantain could literally kill our boy, but who can stop a raging bull? There are spheres of energy from this blazing fire, and the Blazing King unleashes his Blazing Sun Demon Hand. These spheres have now completely surrounded our boy's body, making him look similar to Godzilla. Still, Yeeg isn't afraid because he plans to use this to test his newly acquired martial skill, researched and created by himself. With that, Yeeg unleashes his ultimate move, the Heavenly Bomber Dragon Cannon. At that moment, a giant fireball fell from above and he raised his hand, which turned into a mouth similar to Godzilla's, releasing a powerful nuclear energy beam that swallowed the fireball. Jantain is left speechless as he realizes he is going to die. At this moment, after going berserk, G returns to his original form, scratching his head, as a figure appears in front of him, reminding him that this time he has gone too far. The director descended, arriving just in time to rescue Jantain. The old man was on his way to see this incredible fight, but ends up running into all this. Laughing foolishly, G claims that it can't be helped. Without the director on the scene, the tournament feels less important, so he asks the director to help him just this once. Sighing, the director realizes that G was messing with his master, Gonka Kaka, who always called him boring. Thus, he now decides to personally support his tournament and announces if anyone still wants to challenge G. Witnessing all this destruction and the protagonist's powers, no one even dares to say a word, and so the director declares our boy the winner. Yeeg stands proudly as the announcement echoes through the arena, declaring Yeeg the winner who has single-handedly challenged all the martial masters of the school, an event that will make his name legendary forever at Imperial University.